It.
All right.
Okay, so
So
we're
we're live.
live. Like we always
Hey
say that
guys.
every time we get on.
Yes. So before we get going today, we like to let you guys know that we are sponsored. This episode is sponsored by Popcorn.
Popcorn.
Yes. Our first sponsor.
Yes.
And we're proud to have them.
Yeah.
Let's see. So Popcorn is really good. As a matter of fact, it worked really easy recently. With the payout. Soon as I sent everything in,
Mm-hmm.
it was just
We got paid.
quick. So like I said, it was really easy. It was our first sponsor, and I really recommend that people check out Popcorn.
Yes, and for those of you who weren't on last week when we discussed a little bit about Podcorn, Podcorn is a it's a like an ad platform,
Hmm.
so where you can have your podcast sponsored by different brands. And
Correct.
so it's really nice because you can go in and you can choose different prices that you want to get paid. Also, Podcorn doesn't have any rights to your content, so you get to keep all of that. So it's a wonderful, wonderful platform. Go check it out, tell them we sent you, and let us know your experience.
Yep. And at the end of this video, make sure you go in the description, click the link if you want to sign up.
Yes.
And that's it for that. Once again, we are sponsored by Popcorn today.
Yes, yes. Alrighty. So let me share this really quick on Facebook.
Do my share too.
How's your night going, Booby?
It's going good. Can't complain. I'm here. I wish we
Nice.
didn't have so much snow. New York is like
Oh
covered in
yeah.
snow. Yeah, so
You guys did get all that snow.
yeah, it's not fun.
Everyone who's joining us, please make sure you write down in the chat. Hello, hello. You said what, Booby, about the snow?
It's just not fun. It's too
Oh,
much. Like it's crazy. We almost got almost 2 feet. Almost.
oh really?
Yeah, we got like 16, 17 inches. Crazy.
Sheesh. Wow. Oh man. Well, in Arizona today. The weather was so nice.
Lucky y'all.
Seriously, we took Kai for a walk earlier, and we just stayed out there for like at least an hour. We were like, wow, it feels really good today.
Yeah, it
Mm.
did. Hey cousin Led and hey mommy.
Hey, cousin Led. Hey, Mama J. Thank you guys for joining us.
Hey,
All
hey.
right, I just wanted to share this. I think yeah, I'm shared. All right, so we will get started. Everyone, say hello to our beautiful co-host, Janae, my cousin.
Hi, everybody.
She's usually in the comments, but we wanted her to join us today and kind of co-host with us. We're switching things up a little bit. Um, so, are you okay?
Go ahead.
So, we're going to start by sharing this video that we saw. And basically, it's a Georgia police chief, and he was caught on body cam talking with another police officer, and they had some interesting comments. So we're going to watch it. And then, of course, as usual, we will discuss.
All right, here we go. Here we go.
I don't own no slaves. My folks didn't own no slaves. Hey. You know, what are we talking about? 200 years ago?
The police chief of a city in West Georgia has resigned, and an officer is fired after body camera video shows the two making racist comments. Happened this past Monday. The City Council of Hamilton, Georgia, asked for the resignation of Chief Gene Allman and terminated Sergeant John Brooks. Both can be heard on the video, which was made hours before the start of a Black Lives Matter march last June. A part-time city employee found the footage while checking out the body camera to see if it was working. That employee then brought it to the mayor's office.
It seems to me like they furnished them a house to live in. They furnished them clothes to put on their back. They furnished them food to put on their table, and all they had to do was work.
And now we give them all those things and they don't have work.
That's it.
Yeah, it's coming from here, crazy.
Okay. So I was cracking up at your face. But yeah, so that was the video. And so as you heard that they did of course they resigned. How
Yeah,
do I
he
go back to the
resigned
comments?
right there.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's usually what happens. It's a resignation versus someone
Hmm.
being fired.
Right. So who's love is
Love
a
is a kaleidoscope.
kaleidoscope. And they
Wait.
said,
Yeah,
"Hey, Janae."
I know. I saw hi.
Yeah.
Oh.
Please tell us your name so we don't have to go and just wonder for the whole night. Because
Yeah.
we
So just make sure you name down in the comment. And thank you for joining
Yes,
us.
thank you for joining. Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you.
So yeah, with the video though, for one, it's interesting because we're in the whole I guess the whole time of, defund the police. And it's interesting because it's like these are conversations that some officers are having. And you know how like the saying like, oh, well, there's always a few bad apples. But it just seems like it's more than a few bad apples.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Now, do I agree with defunding the police? Not necessarily to the extent where people are like they should just go
Go
extinct.
away.
Because,
Yeah.
yeah, because that
We
just
need
doesn't make
them to a
sense.
certain
Yeah.
extent.
Exactly.
Right. But it's like what things do you feel like should happen, especially because you're in the law fields? What things do you feel like could happen to change that around to where do you think like mental health assessments prior to being in the police force? Because I think just to become a police officer, all you have to have is like a high school diploma.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, it's
it's
not a
like,
lot.
right. So, and not to down anyone who's a police officer because it is a difficult and, stressful and a rewarding job. But it's like, what needs to happen so that there aren't so many bad
Bad
apples?
apples. Yeah.
I think that's a really good question, and I also feel like it needs to start with, I guess, yeah, I think mental health assessment would be good because
Mhm.
we want to know who we're putting in the field, who we're
Right.
sending out there to protect and serve. That's
Hmm.
their job. So we
Hmm.
need to know the background of these people and where they're coming from. We need
Hmm.
to find out a little bit more about them. How were they raised? Who were their influences? You
Who raised
know, and exactly who raised you? And
you?
also, I think that these officers sometimes need to be more in touch with the communities that they're protecting and serving because every community is different. So, for
Right.
example, where I live in Westchester, White Plains is totally different than Mount Vernon.
Right.
So the way that the police officers conduct themselves in White Plains is different than the way, the police officers should conduct themselves in Mount Vernon. And the same thing for Westchester versus the Bronx or Harlem. It's not the same. So
Right.
I think that these officers need to understand the communities in which they're serving in and understand, the people who they're protecting.
I agree. Hey, mom, and we can
Hey,
we'll
TT.
we'll play the video back in a second. I just want to say something really quick. Um, so saying that, because I really agree with that, and I do think that a lot of times, whether it's officers or people in general, if you're not from a certain community or culture, sometimes you don't know how to respect that culture, interact with that
Yes,
culture because there's a,
yes,
a disconnect. So, do
yes.
you feel like then it would be more beneficial for people who live in the community to police the community over people coming from outside of the community to police it?
I do think that that's a possibility and something that could benefit
Hmm.
the community definitely, but sometimes it's difficult. So, for example, how many officers are becoming police officers in the Bronx compared to those becoming police officers in White Plains?
Okay.
And then you have people who move. So you have people who say, okay, I'm going to move myself outside of the Bronx and go live in White Plains, and I don't want anything to do with that community anymore.
Right. Right.
So it makes it difficult, and I do agree with you, TT, about it needs to be diversity training. Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
Absolutely.
and so I agree. I feel like, and that's why I always say, like, everyone needs to travel.
Yes, yes.
Like, get outside of your neighborhood, get outside of your state, travel the world. Really, like, expand your mind and your thinking.
Mhm.
And I just feel like diversity training, I think, is great. However, like, okay, so I think it's a step.
Mhm.
However, one thing that I remember, I think it was Denzel Washington who said it, but he was like, you can change as many laws as you want and do as many trainings as you want, but you can't force anyone to like or love someone else. So
Mhm.
just because the law says I have to respect or like you, people are people and they have
Mhm.
their own biases and things like that. So, they may like you can't force that.
Mhm.
So I think those are really great points, and I think they're great starting points. And we can see if that at least kind of bridges the gap to where it's like there's more of a mutual understanding and everything. Hey, everyone who
That's
just
true.
joined. Hey, Poppy. Hi, Aunt Chi Chi.
So what's up?
Um,
Hey,
hey,
Poppy. Hey, Auntie Chi.
thank you guys all for joining.
What's up, Gabe?
Please make sure that you like this video. And if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. We are talking about an incident that was caught on body cam in Georgia, where a police chief was conversing with another police officer, and they had some very interesting things to say. So we're going to play it back one more time for those who just joined us and didn't get to see the video. Oh, how do I do it then? Thank
Here we go.
you. Okay.
I don't own no slaves. My folks didn't own no slaves.
Hey,
What are we talking about? 200 years ago?
The police chief of a city in West Georgia has resigned and an officer is fired after body camera video shows the two making racist comments. Happened this past Monday. The City Council of Hamilton, Georgia asked for the resignation of Chief Gene Allman and terminated Sergeant John Brooks. Both can be heard on the video, which was made hours before the start of a Black Lives Matter march last June. A part-time city employee found the footage while checking out the body camera to see if it was working. That employee then brought it to the mayor's office.
It seems to me like they furnished them a house to live in. They furnished them clothes to put on their back. They furnished them food to put on their table, and all they had to do was work.
and now we give them all those things and they don't have to work.
That's it.
And I see it. Yeah. So that was that was the video that we were discussing. And
Ooh.
yeah. And it was funny because I was just well, while the guy was talking, I was talking to Saquon. I'm like this man said, and he was so serious, like they furnished them with house,
Yeah.
clothes, and food, and all they had to do was work.
It was work. That's
It
all
was
they had to do.
such a little thing. And now they get it and they don't want to work.
Exactly. He tried it.
Yeah, like, sir. Mm-mm. But yeah,
Mm-mm.
so we were just discussing and for all of you guys who joined us, we have a co-host, my cousin Janae. Our cousin
Hey,
Janae is
everybody.
on. So she's joining us and she is in the law field. So we want to kind of get her feedback, and she's gonna be joining us the whole podcast on on this as well, and what she thought would be good things that they can implement to kind of help weed out the quote unquote bad apples in the police force, especially with everything going on and everyone talking about defund the police, which we don't agree with. Defunding the police, I do feel like police are necessary and
Mhm.
beneficial when they're doing their job correctly.
Mhm.
So yeah, so we were just talking, and some things that came up were like diversity training, also maybe policing people from your own community. And a big thing is with not just with police, but with people in general. We were saying that, you know, when you go to a different culture and they do certain things, have certain traditions, like you can go to an Asian culture and it's like customary to take off your shoes, and
Mhm.
some people have different eating styles and just different behaviors and things that they find polite or disrespectful. It's like there's a disconnect sometimes if you're not aware of those differraces.
That's true.
Mhm.
So
Very true.
I think the biggest thing is we all need to travel.
So, cousin Les, she said at work we have been doing extensive anti-racism training, work in health, medicine, research. My question is, with these trainings, because I've never been through one.
Right.
Do you see these trainings being effective? Like, how do you teach someone to
Right.
not be racism?
Right. Not to be
Not to
racist.
be racist, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Like, how do you teach
I'm,
that? How do you train someone not to?
Right.
Are you training them not to, or are you training them to fake? To fake who they really are, to training them to cover it up better. You know,
Mm.
what are you actually being trained to do?
Right. That's a good question. I do wonder what the
question.
training consists of.
I know for when I was in law school, we didn't
Mm-hmm.
actually have, because this obviously goes on even in court, right?
Hmm.
There's a whole bunch of racism that happens in court.
Mm-hmm.
So what we had to do as part of when I was working for legal aid
Mm-hmm.
is we had to do, I guess it was called a training, but it was like you go on the computer and there's a whole bunch of questions that you're asked, and they look at the responses that you give to those questions or to the certain scenarios or fact patterns to see kind of where your mind is. Like, are you biased? Are you not biased? Are you racist towards a certain group of people or not? And that's kind of the training that they had in that office.
Wait,
So
there's a question here. So we just want to see if you're racist or not. You're trained.
yeah, exactly. No, but that's exactly what it was. So I
Wow.
remember I had to do it, and one of my coworkers had to actually do it. And it was interesting to see how we answered those questions differently.
Mm,
And we come from two different backgrounds. So it was
right.
interesting to see how we answered those questions. And that was an email that was sent out throughout the entire office.
Okay.
So yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of how that training was.
Okay. Yeah. And I know cousin Les says she's been at work or she's finishing up some
Yeah.
work. So so if you cousin, like whenever you do, even if we move on, oh, she says we also do a bias training. Can you, if you have time, cousin Lex, I know you're working, but can you tell us a little bit about what the training consists of, and do you find it beneficial or not? But yeah, so I do think it's interesting, and I understand the concept of wanting to train people. But like I said earlier, you can't force somebody, and like you were saying, you can't force somebody not to have a dislike towards you. You can't force somebody to love you or to treat you a certain type of way.
Yeah.
Yep,
So
this is
yeah,
true.
I was virtual, but has an in-person session.
okay. Hmm.
Well, I'm
So yeah,
assuming it's virtual now because of the pandemic, but
yeah,
usually, yeah, in person. That's
yeah.
usually how they're held. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Please like and thank you,
Yes.
Mom. Everyone, please
Well,
like and share the video. Make sure you subscribe to the page if you have
yes.
not already. We appreciate you all for joining us.
Are we
So,
telling them to hit the bell?
yes, hit the bell.
Hit the bell. Let us.
Hit the bell,
So
ring a ling
what does the
ling.
bell do again? It lets you know.
Subscribe.
It notifications. And it lets them
Oh,
Oh,
get
it lets
perfect.
you know when
notifications. So when you guys are on,
Thanks, Bubis.
no problem.
All right. So let's move on to our next topic.
So the next topic was kind of based off of last week's conversation,
Yes.
Hmm.
and it was actually recommended to us.
Yes.
Um,
So
my mom
it
asked us
was
to talk about
requested
it.
for
She
us to talk
requested
about
it,
it. Mm-hmm.
and last week's conversation was based off whether or not you needed a male in the home, right?
So
To raise a man.
we discussed a lot last week actually,
Yeah, we
but
did.
we kind of ended on, can a woman by herself raise a boy into a man?
Hmm.
And so I wanted to start off this segment by saying to Miss Karen, if you're out there, um, I feel like last week when I was speaking, I kind of made it, because I don't like when we discuss these things, it's not personal. Like it's just we're just having conversations, trying to dissect and uncover and unfold and talk about things. But I feel like, when you were saying how you're raising your child, I was like, okay, yeah, so you're raising a young great human. But I don't know the influences in your child's life. I don't know what's going on in your home life. So, it's not for me to say whether you're raising a man or not. But I do stand by what I said. I do not believe a woman by herself can raise a young boy to become a man unless he has male influences in his life. So, and single women can do that. They can have, male role models for their children and raise a young man. So yeah, because and we talked to Janae after this, and she was, because at first last week it was like she didn't agree, and I'm like, you don't agree. But it wasn't that, well, you could say your part, movie, that like you did agree, but it was just the way it
Right.
said.
Exactly. It wasn't that I didn't agree with what you were saying. It was kind of the way I was looking at it and the way that it was said. I do feel like women can raise um, young men. They can raise men, but it is important to have that male role model in the picture to help, because there's certain things that we as females cannot explain or extend to a young man, during those crucial ages, those teenage years. So
Yeah.
I do think that a male role model is extremely important in the process of raising a man.
Do you feel like it's just important or it's necessary?
Um, that's a good question. I feel like in some ways it is necessary,
Mm-hmm.
because like I was saying, there's certain things that we can't explain to a man, to a boy, because we don't understand ourselves.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, how can I tell Saquon about something and Saquon looking at me like, when did you ever have that piece? You don't know. Like, what are you saying? So there's
Yeah.
certain things that I can't, explain to a young man that Saquon would be way more qualified and is more
Right.
qualified to explain than I am. So yeah, in some instances it's absolutely necessary. Hmm.
I agree with that. So really quick, I want to just catch these comments because it was kind of back about what we were talking about. So Cousin Let says the virtual is similar to Janae, where you take a test. The in-person runs through examples. That part is virtual now, but they used to break out rooms to do the small group work. Okay, so I guess they kind of go through examples, try to talk you through it, tell you kind of why, no, you don't do that. This is okay. So I mean, I guess it can open your mind, maybe if you're open-minded.
So,
But
but that would be like assuming that these people don't know what they're doing.
want to.
Well, yeah, but it
Ignorance to
it does, yeah, it does open your eyes, because I mean, the truth of the matter is some of us are more biased to certain things than other things. And what that test does is it opens your eyes to the reality of, yeah, you do prefer a certain group of people or a certain religion or a certain practice over another, which
Mhm.
is true. Like, I mean, I'm a Christian, so if it was questions based on that, you're going to see that favor more so than, let's say, someone who was Muslim, because
Right.
I don't favor that way. You understand what I'm saying? So that's what that questionnaire does. It brings to light what you prefer, or what group of people, or what religion, or whatever it may be, what you prefer over another thing. And it
Right.
and I guess it's there so that you can kind of see, okay, maybe I need to tread more lightly when I'm in this type of situation, or be careful what I say or how I act when I'm in this type of situation, so that I don't offend anyone or make someone feel as if I don't respect their religion, I don't respect their culture, I don't respect their background. You understand what I'm
Right.
saying? So
Yeah.
that's what
And
that does.
I understand that, because I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to respect. I don't have to agree with you, but that
Mhm,
doesn't mean that I'm going to treat you badly or treat you some
mhm,
type of way. I can still respect you. Like, and I think we live in such a society where everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people feel like you have to look at the world through my lens. And if
mhm,
you don't, you're opposition. And I
mhm.
just feel like it's so extreme to where like you speak out against something or say you don't agree with something and then you're attacked.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah,
like, well, let's just have the conversation. Like you can
right,
open my mind. Maybe I'm ignorant to something, or maybe this is just my stance and my belief. And maybe you
right,
can learn something.
right.
So yeah, I do think it is about it is good to open your eyes and be open-minded and just respect people.
Could you
So
give
hi
us?
Auntie BB
Hey, Auntie
and
Vivi.
hi Aunt
Hi,
Yvonne.
mommy.
What's up, B?
Hi, Aunt Yvonne.
Let's see.
So,
Hold on.
well, before you go on, based on your personal experience by going through that test or training, uh, did you come across anything that probably opened your eyes to like, oh, I didn't, realize that, you know?
Yes, there were things that I realized that popped up on the exam where I was like, whoa, wait a minute, let me reevaluate myself. Let me sit back and ask myself, wow, do I really do that? Is that really something that I do? And does it show? See, because
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
that's also something like what you were saying before, Saquon, about, are these trainings, or is it to, hide, who people really are? Is it like
Mhm.
this, persona that they want people to
Mm,
portray when they're out there that's not really themselves?
Yeah.
right.
Um, you know what I mean? So that's what that test did for me. It opened my eyes to some of the things where I'm like, okay, I favor this more so than this. And then I had to look at myself like, okay, do I do that in the real world, like in actuality? Can someone tell that I'm actually doing that? And if so, am I offending someone when I do that? You
Mm-hmm.
know? Because
Mm,
being in the legal profession, I can't do that.
Yeah.
If I
right.
have clients and I have certain, I can't show that,
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard because you're human. You have
Yeah.
Right.
emotions, you have feelings, but you
Mm,
also have to know you're a professional. So you have to be careful about how you come off.
Okay.
yes. So, everyone, to wrap up that segment, be open minded and understand that you have biases, and your biases are actually okay because that's just it's natural. Like
Yeah.
that's how
Mm-hmm.
we're brought up, and we're going to naturally have biases towards things that we're comfortable with, that we know, and that's in our communities. But doesn't mean that you have to dislike, hate, or demean or disrespect anyone with a different view.
True. True.
So, hey everybody,
Very
thank
true.
you guys all for joining. Everybody who's new, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel if you have not, and share this video if you don't mind.
Yes. Please share it.
And
Um.
go ahead,
Okay. But I was gonna say, we got
Navarro.
Navarro. He said, I guess it was going back to a topic. He said, women cannot raise a man. This generation of male have been raised by women. Everyone is complaining how terrible they are.
How terrible the men are.
Yes. And this is,
Booby, you made a face. Why?
I
I mean, this is kind of fact
mean,
in a way. I mean,
Well,
and I
let her
guess
say why.
okay, go ahead, go ahead. Say why. Why
um,
why the face?
no, because I was just reading like this generation of male have been raised by women, and everyone is complaining how terrible they are.
Uh huh.
Um,
Chris said, I'm pretty
I'm
awesome.
pretty
I think that's I don't know. I just feel like I think it depends on the group of people you come across. So, like what you were saying last week, Sharma, about there being a difference between males and men.
Mm-hmm.
So the males, yes, that statement I feel like goes towards those males that you were talking about. But
Mm-hmm.
as far as the men, no, because these women are working hard. They're doing everything they can, single, and I'm talking about single women, to raise these young men the best way that they can. And maybe they don't have role models or male influencers. Or God forbid there's a situation where there was a man present and he harmed the young boy, you know
yeah.
what I mean? So now what? That woman is doing everything she can to raise that boy. And now she's afraid to introduce men into his life because of what he's already been through. So,
Right. So, okay, and let me just read one more quick comment. So, Navarro also says 57% of Black households today don't have a biological step nor adoptive father. This is really a problem in our community. And I
that I
do
agree
agree
with.
with that.
I
Yeah.
do too.
And I also think one thing I was thinking about, I was like, let's think about like optimal versus just kind of maintaining or sustaining.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, like to me, I feel like optimal would be like if we think about diet and health, and just think about personal like health. Optimal is eating healthy, being active, like having a mental, spiritual connection, whether whatever religious belief you have, like that's optimal. Like you have the full picture. There are people who can eat McDonald's every day of their life, drink
Mhm.
soda all the time, eat ice, like eat crappy, not work out, nothing. They still can live till 80, 90,
Mm-hmm.
but are
True.
they living an optimal life, or are they sustaining or just maintaining that life?
That's true.
So I feel like when we think about uh, families and raising children, I do believe that it's more optimal to have a healthy, and that's keyword, healthy and loving mother and father present. Now, because like you said, there's situations where you can have an unhealthy father or an unhealthy mother, and that is not optimal for that child to be raised in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like we were discussing last week, and for those of you guys who weren't here, it was a very great conversation and we were going back and forth. But one thing that I really truly believe is if a mother and a father were not necessary, it wouldn't be necessary for those two to get together in order for a child to be born. Now, they are trying to do all these experiments and all this testing and all this other craziness to, have children, but that's not how we were created and that's not what our purpose was. So when we discuss these certain things, and sometimes, people bring up like there is an issue with single parents, or something that your Mama J said she wanted us to discuss is like same sex parents. Is that optimal? Even though they can raise like loving children, is that an optimal situation
Yeah.
versus having, because I do believe like every child has the right to have a loving mother and father. So quick question. Does everyone believe or not that children have the right to have a loving mother and father? Do you believe that, Booby?
I
And
believe that children have a right to have loving parents.
who
I
are parents?
can't
Who are the parents?
Whoever your parents might be, whether
Okay.
it's a father and a father, a mother and a mother, or a mother and a father. I think as long as that kid is raised
Real quick, sorry. It's just who
uh,
raises the child.
right, it's because you have to separate biology from like actually raising a kid. Because science, what you're talking about is science. You're talking about biology. You're talking about the fact that you have a mother and a father, a male and a female, and they come
Mhm.
together and they create a child and they raise that child. And yes, that's the way that it is. That's the truth. I'm not going to deny that.
Mhm.
But there are situations where um that's not the case. And a child is raised in a loving household with
Mhm.
parents who are of the same sex. So,
On Chi Chi. So okay. Cousin Let says optimal is the village. Having parents is just part of it. I do
I
agree.
agree.
I do agree with that. It does take a village.
it
um,
does.
Aunt Chi Chi said I need the criteria for what is optimal. So, mommy said hi, Chris. Okay. So optimal, and I guess it's Mm, I don't want to say like it's broad, but I feel like optimal is what's going to be best for the child to thrive and to be most balanced and healthy.
And reach their 100% potential.
Right. And granted, I agree with what you said, Booby, that parents don't necessarily have to be biological, right?
Mhm, mhm,
However, there are certain things that I've noticed, like even if someone doesn't know their biological parent, right? But
mhm,
then let's say like adoption, because I feel like,
mhm,
okay, so hold on, let me preface this.
L-
So I feel like with single parents, like with adoption and with same-sex parents, they all can be better options than an unhealthy
Correct.
two-parent biological household. I do
mhm,
believe, and I
mhm.
feel like if your biological parents, oh, sorry, I was reading the comment.
Yeah, me too.
I was like, what? um, but I do believe that if you have a negative start because you live in an unhealthy household, then yes, going to that would be better because you started negative.
Yeah, so we're talking in the sense of if the biological parents were good parents. Like, and that's the
Oh,
whole thing.
sheesh. Okay, hold on, guys. You guys are into this
Yeah.
topic. One
But
second.
you know, if you can put the two, if you take a child that, you know, let's say, because same-sex parenting doesn't always come from a child that was adopted or anything. They could have actually, one could have
Right.
actually birthed that child. It's
Right.
biological to
If it's
one of them.
women.
Yeah, if
Right.
it's two women.
Mhm.
Um,
Or man. He could have had someone,
surrogate.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I guess yeah,
Yeah,
surrogate.
that could happen.
Um,
Mhm.
so, but all right, you take that situation, right? And then you take a situation where there's a loving family with biological parents, right? Do you think that those kids will both reach 100%? Or do you think that the child with his biological mother and father, or his or her mother and father, do you think that they have more of a chance to live in a more optimal life? Let's not add in if they were negative or if it was a bad home. We just saying if they was actually loving. Does one beat the other?
I think what you guys are trying to get at is um you can learn a lot more from your biological parents than you could from an adoptive parent or a step parent, which that's true. You can because they're your biological parents. So,
Mhm.
you come from them and the whole family dynamic and everything is there. But I don't I don't know. I don't know if that means that if we put a child in a same-sex family home and one with the biological parents and we raise them up, if we're going to be able to see, oh,
A
this one
different.
is better. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I agree with what Mama J said. Mama J said that not saying they can't be loved by same-sex parents, but again, two same-sex parents can't teach what the other sex can. That goes back into that conversation we just had about needing a male role model in the male's life. That is very true. That's true. But again, raising a child in a same-sex family, they're
Mhm.
still receiving love, they're still receiving nurture, they're being taken care of. Um,
Mhm.
and then even with that being said, what about if it's not the biological mothers? So what if it's just a complete adoption altogether or a complete surrogate altogether? Then that's something else you have to think about. Because sometimes in a same-sex relationship, one of the two parents sometimes can be biological, and then
Right.
other times they're not.
Right.
So there's so many different variables and so many different ways to look at this. You understand what I'm saying? And I think that it makes it a little bit it makes it a little complicated.
It does. So I want to read the
Mm.
comments really quick. So hey Demi, thank you for joining
Hey,
us, my
Demetria.
love. So
Hey,
she
Dan.
said some sex parents may produce a much better child, mentally healthy and a great compassion human than hetero parents. It all depends on love and what each parent pours into that child's life and development. I agree. Mommy
Mhm.
said, I agree. Navala, no, Navala.
Navarro said, laugh out loud. Bitch, we can't even agree on a father and mother raising a child. How are we going to agree on the village raising a child?
And what would be consisting of a village? Yeah.
Yeah,
Mama
Mhm.
J said, not saying, oh, this is what you read, Booby?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And then Chris said, well, there are more than two genders. Genders and children should choose their own gender. So do they really need a father and a mother? They can just raise themselves and turn out sublime.
What?
Are you
Chris,
being
what?
Yes,
sarcastic here?
he's being
Oh,
sarcastic.
Right, yes, Chris,
Because
yes, it's Chris.
now, there's gender fluidity and all this other
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
She says, oh, you want to read?
I believe a well-loved child will reach his or her potential.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then
Not
Navarra.
No, the child still needs his mother or father. Cousin Les says, we don't know too many variables to measure. I have 4 siblings raised in the same house. We are all different.
True. That's true.
Mhm.
Even with the same
Mhm.
parents, kids turn out different.
Exactly.
That's true
Exactly.
too. Anivet says, I am a family and health relationship coach. We need you on here. I support a healthy family household, but there are situations where toxic situations arise that one parent can truly get the job done. Okay. Aunt Chichi says, optimal to me is turning out a compassionate, self aware human striving to be the best version of themselves. Okay.
Mhm.
Mommy says, optimal is a state of mind. I think that being a biological parent or adoptive parent is not important. There are so many variables. The child needs unconditional love, period. It doesn't matter.
Great.
Thing. I agree with some of it. Mama J said they will be loved and probably grow up to be a great and productive person. I feel as though inside they will feel they have missed out on something. Chris said, "Oh, y'all know me so well." Yes. And Debbie said, "Yes, Mama Gladys." So I agree that, like I said, I feel like it's better. It is optimal or a step up when a child starts off in a bad situation, and whatever next situation there is, no matter who the parent is, it's better than where they started.
Correct.
Now, with adoptive children and with single parents, and even with, I feel like, same-sex parents, I and I can't speak for all children, um, but we watched videos on this to see like children's perspectives and things like that. And there are still children who feel like they're missing something, even when you
Mhm.
don't have a biological parent and you have a step parent. Even though your step parent can be awesome, like I have a step parent who's wonderful, but growing up, it's still a longing for like, I wonder what
Mhm.
what my
Right.
father's like, or what that side of the family is. Like there's more to, to me. Like this is part of my genetics. And same with you.
Yes.
It's like when you started conversing with your father, you were like, oh wow, there's certain things that I got from him. And
Mhm.
you hadn't even seen him
Yeah, and okay,
in a
and
long
let's
time.
talk. If I have to
I
talk
agree
about
with that.
it, right?
Yeah.
Um, me and my dad, right, can both agree that the reason him not being in my life was because of toxicity. So we could both agree with that
On his end.
on his end, right?
Hmm.
Mhm.
But I mean, even now, he's different. He's different from me.
Right.
And
And he's so like, it's like you can see a blessing in
yeah,
Papa J.
I can see why he's
Mhm.
not there,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
But it still leveled me out to something different that I never expected.
Right.
You
Mhm.
understand what I'm saying? Um,
Mhm.
I know who he is. I would never choose to take his route of
Mhm.
choices. You understand what I'm saying? He even
Mhm.
knows that I won't take his choices
Mhm.
as goal. But me understanding him kind of helped me understand myself even more.
Right.
Mhm.
It's
Yes.
also interesting, even with siblings. It's like getting to know the siblings from a parent who you may not live with and you haven't seen in years. It's like when we went to
It's
visit his
crazy.
sister, for one, I mean, this may sound silly, but they had the same shoes. I was like, what? And when like we got to talk to her and know her, it was like they were very similar. And then same with me and my other sister. So
Yeah.
my other
Yeah.
sister that I met, like there were certain things that it was like, oh
Mhm.
wow, like So I do
Mhm.
believe that even though you believe like that you said it's just science, I don't think it's just quote unquote science because it's just perfect. Like it's just the way we were designed. So it's not necessarily, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
you can,
when you explain it more like that, now I understand where you're coming from and what you mean. So the perfect show to explain This Is Us. That show literally shows because you have Randall who's being raised by this family who he was adopted into, and he was longing to find out who he is as an
mhm,
African American man being raised in this white family,
mhm,
and so
mhm.
he loved his family. He
Right.
loved them. Like that's
Mhm.
his family. That's his mother, that's his father. Those are
Right.
the people who raised him. But he
Mhm,
also wanted to know what it meant being an African American man.
mhm,
So what did he do? He longed to go find his biological parents. And he
mhm.
found his father, and he learned things about himself and about where he came from that he wasn't going to get from his adoptive parents.
Mhm.
It
Right.
was stuff that they couldn't even teach him how to be a black man in America because they don't have
Didn't
no
know
idea
that
what that was.
Yeah, yeah.
And
exactly.
right, and that show speaks to exactly what you guys are talking
Mhm.
about. And it's true. It is, and it's also important um to kind of have that relationship with
Right.
biological parents. And I know that it's difficult. I know that it's hard. And I know that from experience with you two, like I've been blessed to have both my parents and I was
Mhm.
raised by both my parents. But like you guys, I have many friends and other family members
Mhm.
who have different siblings from different parents and vice versa, and so on. So I do see the similarities in them, and I also see the differences, and I also see how it affects their relationships. So, like my cousins on my father's side, the way that they are with my uncle is different,
Mhm.
completely different,
Mhm.
just because of the presence that he has or
Mhm.
had in their lives. So
Right.
yeah, I now when you explain it, I understand a lot more of what you mean. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. So Poppy says it depends on what you're talking about. And then Navarro says live is give.
Love,
Oh,
love is given to the child
Mhm.
love is given to the child
when
what they
they.
need, and they need both genders, male and female. I agree. Let's see. Poppy says, okay, there are male and female roles in a lot of same-sex relationships. That's the point too, that
Yeah,
in a lot of
Yeah.
sex relationships, there's masculine
Yes.
version of the,
yeah, and
and then there's the feminine
Yes.
version, which is
And vice versa.
huh?
And vice versa, because you have male in same-sex male relationships
That
where
are more
there's one that's
yeah,
feminine and
feminine.
it's yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, even with that, I don't think that takes the place of a woman, or an actual man.
but in those
That
Mhm.
situations, they're the same sex picking gender roles. Like, you get
kind
what I'm
of,
saying?
because
The
it's
feminine one gonna do the.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then you can say
Yes.
the same thing with people like wanting to change their or
Yeah,
believe
their
they
sex.
are a different sex.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Chris said the state of fatherhood or lack of fatherhood in the Black community is a direct result of systemic racism. It was a planned social experiment implemented by laws and policy. I agree.
Hmm.
And the fact that that's the case, there's a reason for it because they know
Mhm.
the benefit of the Black father being in the home. They know
Mhm.
the benefit of families. They know the power of families,
Mhm.
a mom and a dad being married with children, raising a healthy family.
Yeah.
And so I definitely agree with that. And then Cousin Let says, with two biological parents, there can still be a longing for more. I wish my mother was more nurturing when I was a child, but she was not able to. I understand now, but it impacted me a big time. And Cousin Let, that's a very true point, and kind of what we were talking about, like optimal what we were calling optimal is healthy, loving parents who provide those needs for their children. And one thing that I realized just kind of growing up through my own experiences, seeing other people's experiences and talking with them, is that a lot of us deal with trauma from our parents, but they are the way they are because of their upbringing and their experiences
Mhm.
and things that happen to them. So
Yeah.
at some point, it's like we have to break this cycle. We have to say, okay, no. We see what's healthy, we see what's unhealthy, and you still love your parents and you understand why they are the way they are. So it's like you try not to fault them because
Mhm.
that's based off of their experience in their life.
Yeah, you can't fault them.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's like doesn't mean that you have to continue that cycle and pass it down. Not saying that you are
That's
cousin Let,
true.
but just that you have to continue the cycle and pass it down to your kids
Yeah, and that
or your
That's
children.
true.
I think that's where we go to the village though. You're supposed to accept your parents,
Hmm.
and then I think the village is supposed to help balance you out, to not be impacted so much.
I think balance and also accountability. I feel like your village is also supposed to check your parents.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
like if
Yeah,
you do something
absolutely.
wrong, like we need to start
Absolutely.
speaking up and stop just letting things slide under the rug. And like big and especially Black homes growing up,
What
it's like
happened in this house stays in this
stays in
house.
this house.
Mhm.
And it's like, no. Like I get it because you don't just telling all your business to the
Yeah,
streets,
but
but
sometimes
it's
that child needs to
unhealthy.
be saved,
Right.
or somebody
Right.
needs to hold their parents
And speak
accountable.
up.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Let's see. Poppy says, so it's many cases they can still be raised perfectly fine and with great attitudes towards both sexes. Um, and are you referring to like same sex couples, Poppy? Because that's the case. I do believe that they can be raised like happy, compassionate, loving people and still have great attitudes toward both sexes. I do think so. Yvonne says, I found out late in life that I was adopted and by my mother, and it traumatized me. that is traumatizing
Yeah.
because it's like it was a lie. It was like all this time I believed, like, yes, you were my mother in the sense of you raised me, but there's another piece to me that I don't even know. And you weren't true. You weren't honest with
Yeah.
me.
And did you feel like you had a missing piece of you before you found that out?
Mm,
You
that's
And
know?
true.
sometimes adopted children, even before finding out that they're adopted, they do feel like something's
Yep.
off,
Yeah.
something's missing. I don't feel that connection the way I expect to feel, with my mother or with my father,
And
you
that's
know?
where
So,
I think about being mentally optimal is, that bond that you get from your biological parent, it plays a huge part.
Right. And also to everyone out there, because I know, like we were discussing and people were bringing up, like every situation is so different. So I get sometimes like a mom may not make it after childbirth, or a father
mhm,
may pass away early in a child's life. So yes, life does happen, and those are situations that do occur. But we're just speaking on the overall theme of what we believe to be optimal. And I kind of feel like, and then I don't want to sound rude, but I kind of feel like it should be common sense because of just what design and purpose is. It's like if you were able, like, if I was a single mother, if I was able to have a child by myself, then and that was optimal, then I would just be able to do so. If two people of the same sex were able to have a child by themselves, then that's the way, like, they would be able to. You know what I'm saying? Like,
mhm,
why? Like, that's like saying, okay, we have the sun and the moon, but we don't really need the sun because the moon still provides some light and we can still see. If you don't have the moon, or excuse me, if you don't have the sun, you're not going to get photosynthesis. You're not going to get vitamin D production. You're not going to get so many benefits, the warmth from the sun. Like, there's a balance to everything. And I think with men and women, there's a balance to us. And we both bring special gifts into our children.
that's
Let's see.
true.
Chris says, oh, hold on. Okay. Chris says the current push to accept that the father is not needed and even that the father figure is enough is a continuation of that racism. I agree. And unfortunately, it's so deeply threaded within our community that a lot of us have accepted that notion that a father is not needed.
Yeah, and it's sad.
Very sad. Let's see. Gabe says that's why we're breaking the cycle now. Amen to that.
I
Hey,
know that's
Cully.
right.
What's up, Khalid?
Yep. And Anivon said, yes, she did have that feeling that something was missing and she lost trust with people.
Mm.
Yeah. Um, oh, is that your aunt?
No, someone I contacted.
Oh, okay. Hi, my
Thank you
meeting
for
just ended. Sorry, I'm late. I'll catch up with the convo.
thanks for joining.
Yes, thank you for joining us. So yeah, we're just discussing basically same-sex parents, and is it really, it's not about, whether it's right or wrong, but we're just talking about whether things are optimal or is it just kind of like maintaining or sustaining. And so it's kind of what we were discussing. We did find a video. Did you want to play the clips you put in there, or did you put them in
Um,
there?
Play one of them, so I
Okay.
did put them in.
Okay, you can play one.
All right, so
So this was an interview. It's two women who were together, and they were discussing. They had like questions from, I guess they're students because they're teachers, and so they were just answering some questions because they are mothers, and one of them had both of their children because one of the ladies, she had a child first, and then they were going to try to have the second lady have the child, so I
Mhm,
guess she could have that type of
mhm,
connection
yeah,
biologically. But unfortunately, there was fertility issues, so the other lady had to have both.
yeah,
And they, just for background context, they got it from a sperm. They got the sperm from a sperm bank. An anonymous donor
they say
did
all of
it.
that, I think.
Oh, you were playing the whole thing?
Well, it's just two different ones. So
Okay.
it's one about saying how they go about it
Hmm.
and how they felt about the anonymous.
Okay. Go ahead.
And then this first clip that I'm gonna play
Hmm.
is where they're talking about the male influence though.
Okay.
So here it goes.
Do you believe your children need influences from the opposite gender of you and your couple? If so, how do you provide that influence?
We do. We think that our kids need to have influences in their lives, both male and female, and we have lots of those. In fact, our daughter's very best friend in the whole world is Megan's dad. Mm-hmm. They are peas in a pod. They're such good buddies.
Okay. So if they think that it's needed, is what they're doing the correct thing, or does it go back to it doesn't matter about your parents, just the village? It doesn't matter who your parents are. It's about that village that they have.
I don't necessarily think that all the way. Like, I agree the village does add more. But I feel like it starts in the home. Like, if it was not, like, if the parents didn't hold that much importance, then when your child goes to school and is talking back or saying some crazy things that they got from you two, like, what, like, yeah, your grandmother and grandfather can say something, but a lot of that stems from what's happening in the house. So I feel like that's the first step, and that's kind of the foundation. And then it expands out to aunts, uncles, grandparents, the village. But I do feel like first and foremost, it does start in the home, and it starts with that foundation in your home.
Okay.
Go ahead, Booby.
What about those children though who are actually raised by their grandparents, their aunts, their uncles? Then what? Because there are situations where I know people who personally were not raised by their parents. Their parents were there around, but they were actually raised by their grandparents
So
because their parents couldn't do a good job. Their parents.
Go ahead.
So no, I'm just saying like their parents just weren't, as present as they should have been, or they couldn't be.
So it stems back to if you start an unhealthy situation, then going to a positive situation is going to be more optimal. So if their parents are just around not doing what they should be doing, and their aunt and uncle take that responsibility, that's a step up. That's more optimal. That is, more loving. That's going to bring them something that they're missing from their own parents. You get what I'm saying?
Okay, I get what you're saying. Okay, but what about if that the uncle who takes the child is the uncle who's in a relationship with another man?
Either way, it's a step up. So I'm not saying that a same-sex couple or a single mother or an aunt and uncle raising a child or a grandparent raising a child cannot be better for the child than unhealthy biological parents. But what I'm saying is healthy, loving, giving everything your child needs biological parents is
It's optimal. It's like the gram. Yes, the
okay. It is
It
I
don't get no
understand what
better
you're
than that.
saying.
creme
I
mignon.
understand. Okay, I understand what you're
So
saying
that's
now.
what I'm
Mhm.
saying. And I
Okay.
feel like
Okay.
more of us need to really get ourselves together, because
Mhm.
for us, like, we want to we want to have children, and we're going to be raising them, and I pray to God that, like, and I plan on it and manifest it, that we're going to be raising good, healthy, loving children and pouring everything into our children.
Amen. Won't he do it? Watch God work.
So that, like, but we're also going to do this, like, take steps to make sure that we're doing the best we can. Like, we know there's things from our past that have caused trauma or have us off or whatever that we need help with. So I am going to counseling, like, I'm going to make sure that even if I'm not perfect, which I'll never be, I'm doing everything I can to strive for
For my
excellence.
child.
And
Yeah,
I
for
feel
my
like
child.
a lot of us are happy with that maintaining state and just saying,
Mhm.
that's fine. Like, yeah, I know I need to work out, but I'm not going to. Like, why
Mhm.
isn't
Mhm.
the goal
People
to
get
strive
comfortable.
for
People
excellence?
get
Yeah,
Yes, people get comfortable.
right.
And this could be seen all across the board in everything.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, in
Yeah.
anything.
Mhm.
I just feel like once, like, people can understand it outside of this concept, but then when we start talking about this concept, it kind of goes away. Like, people can understand it with health, or people can understand it with, like, for example, like, people say, "Oh, I believe everyone should love whoever they want to love." You don't really believe that, because you don't believe a grown person should, like, love a
Love a
child. Like,
kid. You're right.
you don't
Right.
believe that bestiality should be okay.
True.
Right.
And a lot of people don't agree with polygamy.
Chris,
So
check your
don't
Facebook
True.
message.
you do not think that everyone should be able to love who they want to love. You
True.
just have your own biases as well. So let me read these comments. Chris said, it's not just the removal of the Black father. The push is the total breakdown of the Black family. First, it was our fathers out of the home. Then it was the mothers can replace fathers. Then it was replace the father's presence with money from the government. Yeah. Oh, he said example, child support. Then it was the devaluing of Black life to something discardable, abortions, which most abortion clinics, Planned Parenthood, are in Black communities. And the founder of Planned Parenthood was recorded saying that her goal was to get rid of Black children. Just a fun fact. Let's see. Mama J says, go ahead, baby.
Oh, I think it's great that they are wise enough to know that that children needs a male
presence.
That a child needs a male present. Auntie BB said, "Hey,
hey,
for the
Auntie
second
BB.
time. Hey, Auntie BB.
Mommy.
I wish you was.
Hand.
I wish you was around so you could give us the malakiki laka.
Yeah.
Malaka liki maka. I got you, mommy.
Cousin that says raised hand. She was raised by a village. She was raised by grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, a whole dang family. I love it. Let's see. Annie Bond says, I adopted my granddaughter with special needs. And that is so amazing. And I'm sure she will receive a blessing by being raised by you. Chris says, go ahead, baby.
Family courts are predominantly located in minority neighborhoods, but child support offices are usually far out the way. Chris, I sent you a message on Facebook.
He said something.
Oh, no, that was after that. After I seen that. My mother said to give a child a loving home is great as long as they have the essential components. Because Chris said that's why I was saying. He said he could go on, but YouTube is limited his words. So I sent you a link. My mother says essential meaning both sexes. That may not be biological.
Okay, and Cousin Les said, but is this optimal family part of the colonial mindset? Is this really in our nature? I feel like it's really in our nature.
I believe so.
I don't understand what. Okay, so can someone explain to me why it would naturally be in our nature? Because, like, let's say we're all just popped up on this earth, right? And and there's a good experiment, the rat mouse utopia. Look that up. But let's just say we all popped up on this earth, right? And we didn't know we didn't know anything, right? So some women are attracted to men, some women are attracted to women, some men, vice versa, whatever. Who's going to be reproducing and having children? Who's going to be able to have a lineage, and who's going to die off? Because the people who, like, if a woman's just like, I don't need a man, I don't want to be with anybody, I don't need anybody. Well, sis, after you, we heard about it. That's it. There goes your genetic pool. You're done. Same thing with kind of same-sex people, individuals. It's like, yeah, you could have a loving, thriving, great relationship for yourself, but after you two, their genetic pool is gone too. So then if the, heterosexual couple get together, they have kids, like it can, you know what I'm saying? So like, that's what I feel like that's natural. Like that, I don't understand how it would be constructed by anybody. Oh, Cousin Let said, I meant this 2-parent family. What? Hold on, let me go back to her question. Oh, what's right there? Oh, sorry.
So are you asking, is the 2-parent family?
Girl, my face did the same thing. I'm like, oh.
Is that, I want to make sure that we asking this right.
So, but is this optimal family part of the colonial mindset? Is this really in our nature? I mean, this 2-parent family. And when you say, okay, because we're not saying that it should just be a 2-parent family and like you have no connection to grandparents, cousins, and aunts and uncles. We're not saying that, but we're just saying who's in the home raising the children in the home. That's too reductive, Cha. Can you expand on that, Aunt Chi-Chi? Please. I thank you guys. I love all this conversation. I really do. I enjoy it.
The 2-parent family is natural.
Yeah.
It don't get no more natural than that. I feel like if you do not believe in a 2-parent family, then there's no such thing as a deadbeat dad to you.
Oh, here's Chris. Hey. Okay, but Chris is joining us as well.
2-parent family.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah. Man, you guys looking all messed up on here trying to. talk, discuss all this
Feedback
stuff.
on your end, Chris.
Chris is joining us as well. We're gonna mute you together. Okay. So okay. Chi says not every member of society wants children. Okay, and that's very true, Chi. So I'm not saying everybody has to want children, but then if you don't want children, that's fine. You also don't want generational. And that's very true, Chi. So I'm not saying everybody has to want children. Chris, we still hear some feedback. I'm not sure what's going on. Are your beats connecting? Let's see. Hold on one second. Let me see. All right, unmute. All right, Chris?
Yeah, sorry, but I had like your YouTube up and this up at the same time. That's why the feedback was going on.
Okay.
Let's see. Anchiji said, because the fact is that gay people exist and are valuable to our society. I'm not disagreeing because I feel like we all have value. Like every person on this earth, I feel like has some type of value to our society. But I don't understand what you mean on Chi as far as like because they exist, they have value. I just don't understand exactly what you mean because I'm not saying anyone is less valuable than anybody else. I don't think that.
Do they have a person has value, but are you saying that because the gay values are valuable to society?
I mean, I don't personally know what Aunt Gigi's trying to say, but I think, because hearing that makes me sit there and say, okay, there's a lot of like racism. There's a lot of people who are against people in same-sex relationships. There's hate crimes that happen. So the benefit of being raised that way or knowing people like that is that you look at it and you're like, okay, well, I don't hate it. I don't, I love these people. I feel these people. So you're not one of those people adding to the problem. You're not doing hate crimes against other people. So maybe they're beneficial in that way that,
because you were raised by a same-sex parent, that you won't be hateful.
Exactly. So maybe in a way.
I do have friends who are gay.
But not just you.
Yeah, but it's not, but there's a lot of people who aren't, because if you think about it, the people who a lot of the times, like when it comes to racism and when it comes to like same-sex like laws changing and things like that, it's not just Black people fighting for equality for us, or it's not just gay people fighting for equality for them. There's a lot of heterosexual people who fight for homosexual equality,
and they weren't raised
or equal rights. I don't know what the term is. Sorry if I'm ignorant for that, but and same with that. So, and they don't necessarily have to be raised in that situation. I think I get what you're saying, but I don't think that's necessary to be understanding of someone who's different than you.
It's not necessary. It's just a added bonus.
A little added bonus. Chris, are you going to say something? Can you hear us, Chris?
He looks frozen.
Yeah.
Oh. Can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
That's probably didn't connect. It's probably not connected, maybe.
Let's see. He's on. Maybe come out and then come back in, Chris. And let me read what Aunt Chi said really quick. She said, what I meant is in terms of family. Gay parents are valuable, a variation that is valuable. The YouTube platform is limiting. Sorry. Oh, it's okay, Aunt Chi. Okay. So you're saying as far as the variation, as far as being different than, I guess, the socio norm, that there's a value in that difference?
The diversity, maybe.
Maybe that's what Aunt Chichi is saying.
I mean, that's easy to say, but I feel like that's how things get infiltrated. I don't believe in that. I just don't believe in that.
What infiltration? What do you mean infiltration?
Because that's like saying, well, we were all good people. Now we got robbers here.
They bring diversity.
They bring diversity. They got different values.
No,
it brings balance to our community.
No,
they still their family. Like,
honey, that's so.
You're going way over to the left side.
I think so, because one is bringing harm to somebody. So it's one thing if, like, even because in any relationship, whether it is heterosexual, homosexual, asexual, whatever the names are out there.
Okay, but
hold on one second, please. There can be harm brought to the other person, harm brought to yourself, there can be harm in that situation. So if it's a situation where no harm is not being is happening between the other person, it's not the same as a robber. A robber is
No,
harming
okay,
somebody by
okay.
taking from them.
I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
But if we have a society where things are like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we're introducing something that we even sitting here talking about is not necessarily optimal, that is hurting the society because it's introducing something that we don't think is right.
So question, I get what you're saying. Because to be honest with you guys, there is a movement towards pedophilia in the LGBTQ, now I guess they're adding a different letter, community.
Yeah,
So they're
it
trying to
is.
add on to it for pedophilia to
For
be like
age.
love has no age. Do you guys agree with that? Why or why not? And then Chichi said at one point, biracial couples were seen as corruption, the social fabric. Let's not forget
I believe it.
that they were.
To what's going on, to what things supposed to be.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like biracial couples were seen as corruption to the social fabric. Like, what that mean by the social norm?
Yeah, like it was seen as so
It was
negative,
prohibited. It was
right?
prohibited.
Okay,
Like the loving v. Virginia case, one of the main cases that we had to study in con law.
Mm-hmm.
That was the breaking ground.
but I mean,
Like
that's the reason why things become unbalanced, because biracial couples, that's why the white population is declining. So would that not be a negative? I'm just saying,
To
in
them.
their defense, wouldn't that be a negative? Right?
Let's see. I get what you're
I mean,
saying because any drop of anything that's not European, you're no longer considered just white. So I get what he's saying in that concept. And there are Europeans who feel like their race is going extinct. So I
yeah,
understand with that going on. But and that's the hard part, because I do think boundaries and rules and certain things are necessary in some case. Like, yes, we all want freedom, right? But without boundaries and rules, then you will have certain things that may be okay to one person but not okay to us, just like we were talking pedophilia. That's not okay. But there are people who genuinely think that is okay. Bestiality, people are literally sleeping with animals, and that's not okay. you know so I do think there's room for boundaries within a culture and society. Cousin Let said there is no straight line. I agree. I don't think there's necessarily a straight line, but I think that there is a path.
What's not a
And
straight
there's
line?
like let's think about like a line, and you have like one extreme over here and one extreme over here, right? Sometimes I think oh, we didn't add Chris back.
Oh.
Sometimes I think that like sometimes being on the extreme side is not necessarily the best, because I do believe in balance, and I do think being somewhere in the middle and somewhere in a balance is optimal. Let's see. People said the same thing about biracial couples. All right. Demi says, I see your point, Saquon. Homosexuality may be seen as harmful for Christians' religious beliefs. I don't agree with some of y'all points, but I do understand your points. Thanks, Demi. And that's the whole point. Like, we're not here, like, we just want to have the discussion with everyone. We want to have everyone just kind of unfold, and we want you guys to tell us what you think, and we're sharing what we think, just so that we can be open-minded, because these are things that are happening within our society today and not necessarily being discussed. Let's see. Gabe says same-sex parents were always there, but instead of being introduced as mom and mom, you were introduced as one is mom and the other is your auntie to hide the facts. Interesting. And
So
then
auntie was sleeping in the bed with mom, and how? Like, I don't get
no,
that.
he's saying that they just go and lie. Oh, well, actually, well, maybe, and maybe that too. But there was a video that I saw. This young boy, well, he wasn't, I guess he's like a teenager now. He was raised by two moms. And he was saying that he was like, he didn't even know they were gay because that's all he knew. And
mhm.
he knew, like, when he would go to school in elementary school, he was like, he would hear people talk about their father, and he didn't even know what a father was. He was like, what is that? And so he said he didn't even find out that they were gay until, or like, lesbians until, I think he said middle school. And he didn't even think they were in a relationship. Like, he didn't even think that they, like, when you see your parents, you think they're in a relationship, like they're together. He didn't even think they were together like that. So it's interesting. So the point Gabe said, where people introduce someone as like mom and aunt or whatever, it's interesting just the different dynamics that come along with it. Chris, let's
Yeah,
see.
can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. Well, thank you
Okay.
for having me join at the last minute.
No problem. This is another law person in the family, our cousin Chris. But yeah, so did you have some things that you wanted to say, Chris, and add?
I didn't get the last question, so I don't really know what it was talking about. But I heard you say something about gay morals. Is that really a thing? Like, is that what you talk? Is that what was the question asked? Is gay morals a thing? That I don't think
There's,
that's.
I don't know if I saw something about gay morals. Do you remember that, Booby?
No.
No.
We can go back to maybe
Hmm.
the last point that you were trying to make, Chris.
I don't know. Well, no. Well, I don't think that if that was something that's being said, I would want to say that like that's pretty ridiculous. People are people, whether they're gay or not. Their moral value comes from them. So
Right.
I do think like if someone's trying to say that the issue of same-sex marriage is the gay morals, that's plainly stupid. But it's more along. I do think that there is there the issue that I have is the push for same-sex marriage also comes with the push again for the no need for a father and or a mother together.
Mhm.
That's the only issue that I have with that. But yeah, so
And I think I remember what you were talking about. We were saying the values, and I was saying that gay values. How do you think that that's valuable to our society?
oh
Like,
okay.
Oh, on Chi Chi said, okay.
yeah.
On
Yeah.
Chi-Chi's point.
Mhm.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
like is our people's values like is that a thing? Like I don't think so.
No,
But
I agree. I don't think the value is based off of your sexual orientation. I think the value is based off you as an individual, your upbringing, your experiences. I think that's where values come into play. You just happen to be either straight or gay. I do agree with that. Cousin Let said, or widows raising children together. Oh,
I never knew
I
even
didn't
knew that
know
was a
that either.
thing.
Let's see. She said LGBTQ is not trying to add that age thing. Um,
Well,
well, maybe people, maybe I won't say I don't know if LGBTQ is like an organization. I'm ignorant to that,
it's
but
called.
there's people within there
So US
trying
Today
to.
posted an article saying they did a fact check. They said that that's false association, and it's something called clover gender. So that's guess what that's called.
Okay.
And they
I mean,
argue.
I don't know. I'm not into it, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, since 2017, they've been arguing that pedophilia is a gender identity.
Yeah. I just think it becomes a little confusing for children when there's so many changes. And
Yeah.
so like
When you got 8 genders, no, 6 of them for them to pick from.
I
yeah.
mean,
Oh, let's talk about that. So that
Okay.
was our next topic is, and Booby, you can say your point. Sorry to cut you off. But
no,
I
it's okay.
want to talk about raising a child gender neutral. But go ahead, Booby. What's your point? Sorry.
No. I was just gonna say like six genders. Like it's only two. It's like
Not
male or
more.
female.
There,
But
that's the thing.
I
Now
I
there's
do
the they.
understand. Right, I understand that. I understand. There, for example, some people I'm noticing. So like when I was in law school and we would send emails through to maybe come from the office or whatever. Some people would have their signatures at the end of an email, and it would
Mhm,
say him, he, and they would want you to refer to them as such
mhm.
because maybe they're identifying as I'm a him, I'm a he versus a she or her.
And I
So,
think
I'm sorry.
they
I don't mean to laugh for those hims and hers and she's out there. I really don't mean to laugh, but it's just like a paradigm shift for me because we learn in school these are just different terminologies that you use in a sentence when you're talking about different things. Like for someone to tell me that, no, please don't call me a him, call me a they. Like, I'm not calling you they. In the DSM, that's a multiple personality disorder if you think that you're more than one person.
All right, Charm. Okay.
Yeah, like, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm really not trying to be disrespectful, but like,
I understand what you're saying.
It goes against
I understand. Yes, I understand. Like, because then it makes it more complicated when we're in school, when we're teaching our kids grammar and everything, and then we're just like, oh yeah, in the sentence they, I know a they. Yeah. So I understand in that sense what you're trying to say. I do.
Okay, hold on. They said Cousin Les said that we're sounding ignorant now. I mean, I feel like we're giving our opinion. I feel like we're just giving our opinion on it. But how we sounded ignorant?
Remember, ignorant means just a lack of understanding. So don't take it as she could just mean we sound like we're right. So don't take it just
true.
So okay, Cousin.
Yeah, sex and gender are two different things.
Right. So can you I guess expand on like what part was ignorant? So like someone referring to themselves as they, do you like was that
don't
the
call me
part?
don't call me her or she, call me they when you're a female. Why would I call you
or
they?
a singular person? That's more so my thing. You're one person, and I wasn't trying to be funny. I do think like in the DSM-5 you can look it up that like when you feel like you're more than one person, and I don't know, maybe that is ignorant. If they don't think they're more than one person, they just like the term they.
I mean, and that's what I'm saying. So what else is the definition to they other than more than one person?
So she's saying this because there's more scientifically, there are more than two genders. There's a lot to learn in this area.
Well, she's speaking to someone who has a doctorate in the sciences. So I think that person with the doctorate in the sciences who can call themselves a doctor and knows about gender more so than someone who doesn't has the more appropriate opinion here. How about that?
Well,
no, we don't want to say one is right
because
from wrong.
I understand the whole notion that people say where they say sex is different than gender. Sex is XX, XY, male or female. And then they try to say gender is not that. Let's see.
Lord, more ignorance.
Let's go back.
Well, of course. Well, between the three of us here, we've probably read a lot more books, on expanding our minds than those who are not on here. So that's all I have to say about that.
I would, before we go any further, I would admit I have never read any books based on this.
So Chichi says because English does not have a singular gender neutral third person. Oh, okay.
It's a deficiency of English.
Identified as a gender, they just call themselves they.
Yeah, Demetrius said, I don't think they is meant to indicate they're more than one person. It's more to not be boxed into him or her.
Well, wouldn't it just be better to just identify as with your name? I get it. Like, so one, pronouns are meant for the impersonal, right? They're meant for like the just the ordinary course when you don't know the exact person you're speaking about's name, because when you know them, their name, you call them directly. You use they and them and then all that. They're pronouns for a reason. They're not your title. They're not who you are. They're generalities, right? So for that, when Janae said people in law school are signing off as you want to be spoken of as a generality. How about you just tell me your name and I'll talk to you about that. If you want to be called a she, I'll call you a she in the proper setting. But I'm not, if I'm talking to you and I want to use your name, I'm not going to say, hey she over there. I'm going to say your name, regardless of whatever you tell me it is. Like if you were born male but you want to be called Christina, I got called, because of cousin Christina, I got called Christina all my life. The majority of times it doesn't matter. So I think that's too much. Like that's it's too semantical for us to really have that much concern about it, to force it on the entire population, because it's never going to actually truly be incorporated into society, because again, the way we're taught, to speak and to communicate, they, them, he, she are generalities, but when we want to speak to someone and identify them personally, we use the name that they request to ask. And that's, whether you were born male or female and you want to have a male name or a female name or whatever, that's that's enough. You don't need to sit here and be like, well, call me they too.
You could,
Yeah.
I mean, you could say that, but in the conversation, I mean, if we was talking about Janae graduating law school, we're gonna say, yeah, she graduated, and if
Because
she
that's
don't want to be,
proper English. Though.
yeah, and I guess what they're saying,
But now,
she would want me to say, yeah, they graduated from law school, and it just don't even sound right.
it doesn't.
Yeah,
And
but
Novi made a good point. I just want to read the comments so we're not leaving the audience off. But Novi said, I think it's more confusing for us as adults because you have to unlearn things that you learned in school and life.
True.
That's very
That's
true.
true. That's true.
Demi, no. Let's see. So the only option is they. I meant that to Chris's comment. Education does not mean you know more. Yes,
yes, it
there's
does.
a value to things you may know, but I have spent the past 6 months doing extensive anti-bias and anti-racism training. So please don't try to diminish my opinion based on not having a PhD. To Chris. Monchichi says English makes heavy use of pronouns naturally. It would be awkward to keep repeating one's name. Language is power, which is why folks fight to be called correctly. Demi says, I think 90% of the folks on here might need the diversity training we talked about. Colette said, right, laugh aloud. Demi says, I by no means support homosexuality, but I do respect it and people's wishes to identify how they want.
Yeah, I mean, identify how you want to identify.
Right. I respect it. I don't fully understand it and I don't get it. And I feel like I don't, I just, I do think like, okay, everyone on comments were saying that, what's optimal, what's not, what's society formed, what's not. For so long, were all these people just like do you guys feel like then were all these people just kind of staying secret because it wasn't accepted? And now people are just coming out to say, I've always wanted to be non-gendered, like not they, but like
and that's
non-gendered. I'd never felt like I was male or female, or like all this time did people feel that these are the things that they want to be called, or like I'm a like I guess people say like asexual, like they have no desire. I guess maybe it's just a label. I think it's the issue. Well, not the issue, but like the confusing part is just all the labeling. And like I agree with Chris where he's like we can just call people by their names, and like now it's kind of like what Novi was saying is like we learned this stuff growing up. And I don't think there was anything wrong with what we learned of calling a woman her and she, and a man him and he. But I do feel like everybody says yes. Okay. I mean, I don't like just because I never had that thought. So I can't comprehend that mindset to not feel like I am who I was born as. Like and I feel for people like that because I feel like that must be difficult to be born in a body representing sex wise a female, but not feel like you're either male or female, or you feel like you're a man, so
TT. TT.
What? This one just went left. I don't know.
Exactly.
But I just like, I don't know. And then
Oh, I didn't know that, Aunt Chi-Chi, about Langston Hughes. I did not know that, and I love
and I
Langston
know
Hughes.
there's a lot of and Demi, like Demi said, people could be murdered for it. I think it becomes trend. It has become trendy as of late. But for those who are genuinely LGBTQ, like born that way, they had to hide it for the sake of rejection from family, harm, etc. Which I do agree. Because I always wondered, like, to the point where like some kids would say it.
What?
Would say like they felt like they were different genders and stuff. And so okay, that goes to where I wanted to talk about is raising children gender neutral. So I kind of feel like And Gabe said, "Let it fly, let it fly." Oh no. Courage. So I did want to know, I feel like I kind of know. I'm not gonna assume though, but do you guys feel like it is then better to raise children gender neutral because of all of this? Like we shouldn't. And yeah, I just want to know your opinion before I speak. And I'll ask you guys while they're typing. Do you guys feel like it you should raise children gender neutral?
No.
Okay.
Because if you do, how would they know? How would they even know what gender they want to switch to? Right?
Well, to see the,
But
You have
does
to
it
have a
matter?
gender in order for we're not malleable like that. Without something solid, we can't even be changed into one thing. So that this doesn't really make sense on a fundamental level. It's okay to change genders when you get older and you feel like that's what you feel. That's fine. But having a neutrality of it, that really doesn't exist.
But why would you? I mean, you're giving them the option to choose it later. I mean, you
Well,
might as well let them.
when they're learned and more mature and can actually make more decisions for themselves, that's always the best course, right? You're not gonna give a credit card to a 6-year-old and be like, well, how about you choose your financial health for yourself, right? You know what I'm saying? So how are you going to do something such as biology, right? Wait until you're of an age where you thought this out, kind of situation with a mature or at least a growing understanding that of figuring yourself out. So
So being that you say that, give me an age.
I don't have an age. That's again, but it's like legal age right now, 18. How about that, right?
Okay.
Some people are able to understand, that's a guiding point, right?
Mhm.
Your wife would know better than me about, the maturity, how when a brain is, fully matured. I don't know what age that
After
is.
18, I'll tell you that much.
It's not 18. See, I don't, I don't know. But our laws are a good standing point for a reason, for sometimes, for something, right? So that's fine. But like, there are people out there, physically they mature faster than 18. They look like they're 20, but they're still treated like they're 18 because, by law, the standard is to do it that way. And that's a good standard sometimes because these things aren't the norm. And it's okay if it's not, you know, as Janae will tell you, right, there's always exceptions to the laws or to the norms and stuff like that. But you don't
And
make
exceptions to those exceptions.
exactly, but you don't make policy based on the exception. You allow the exceptions. You get it? And you make uh and then you make the allowances for those exceptions fair. So, but you don't go about making crazy rules because of the exceptions that affect the whole. Now, and that's just, semantical. I'm not trying to talk about,
Mhm.
humans
Right.
as exceptions, right? So, but, so
Okay.
Yeah.
And Booby, do you want to read real quick? And then Booby, I
Yeah.
want your opinion.
Yeah. All
Okay.
right.
Yeah. Go read.
Cousin Les said, I think I raised my kids gender neutral without thinking about it. Girls or boys, they always had the right to be who they are, do the activities that they wanted,
Let does a
wear
lot of things without thinking about it. No, I'm just playing with you. Let. I love you. I love you. I love you.
have the stories that they want.
We're family guys.
So okay, I'm not even going to get into that right now. Honestly, Gabe says, I'm honestly not sure what raising kids gender neutral really means. I just raised my kids with the love that they are who they are. Because the less said, my brain is like 25. Poppy said, it depends.
Sorry.
I
Oh,
know she's just
Oh
cracking
my
me up.
god.
Just don't tip it over.
Yo, somebody please block your mom. Nobody needs to hear that.
I still say I
Hold
believe
on.
in letting my. Oh, go ahead.
Poppy says, it depends. Are you confusing gender with sexual preference? No. There are some parents who choose not to, like, naturally, for most people, I feel safe saying that. Please don't attack me. For most people, they naturally will paint a boy's room blue or buy him,
Yes.
Legos and,
Mm-hmm.
figure, like, different toys that are naturally more masculine in our
Mm-hmm.
society,
Yeah.
or raise a girl, pink room, dolls, baby
Mm-hmm.
dolls, things like that. That's, what typically was happening. So we're not talking about sexual preference. We're talking about, raising your child with and doing those things. And I think a lot of people do those things without thinking about it as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess in the sense, what I would ask Cousin Let, based on you saying, they were able to do what they wanted, wear what they wanted, and things like that. So, was your son able to say, "Hey, mom, I want to wear a dress today,"
I'm sure
or it
she'd
just
be
never,
fine with that.
or it never happened? You know,
I think she'd be fine with it. But we can.
I agree with what Dim is saying as
Okay,
well.
let's read it. Let's see.
okay,
Miss Yvonne said, "Whatever rocks your boat, just
just don't
don't
tip
tip
mine
mine's
over.
over." Let's see. Mommy says, "I still say I believe in letting my freak flag fly. Be who you be, and this is me. My husband loves that about me, and we enjoy our individuality." Ma, what does that have to do with raising kids? Like gender neutral. But go ahead. Do you and Poppy? Do you do what you do? Demi says, "I feel like raising a kid gender neutral is to raise a kid to not understand the importance of knowing who you are and what you want.
Mm.
This might be a stretch, but if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything. Kids need to be raised knowing who they are, whether that's boy, girl, gay, hetero, etc." Let's see. Cousin Let said he never did, but my daughter hated dresses and pink for a long time. Demi
Well,
said, "I guess
dresses and colors don't necessarily mean you want to,
right,
change your gender. That's
Hmm.
totally
right."
different.
Hold on one second. Demi says, "I guess they need foundation," is what I'm trying to say. I totally agree.
Yeah.
And guidance because
Hmm.
they are children.
Hmm. Hmm.
Cousin Let said, and she loves blue and she didn't get into the girly things until high school. Novi says, "For me, I love being a woman." Amen, sis. Amen. "I have a daughter and I am raising her to love being a girl. Now, if she says she doesn't want to be a woman as she gets older, I will have to respect that. Yes." Mommy says, "Be who you are, just guide the child with a loving hand." Agree. Okay, so I wanted to get Ubi's thing.
And a
I wanted to
loving
get
belt too, Gladys. Huh?
I wanted to get I wanted to get your opinion, Booby, on what you think about raising kids gender neutral.
I understand what people are trying to accomplish when they say they want to raise their children gender neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, for me, I, more than likely, I won't be doing that. I will. You're a little boy. You're a little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Girls wear dresses. Boys don't typically wear dresses. Boys don't typically play with baby dolls. They play with action figures. But I'm not gonna pop my son if I see him pick up his sister's doll and he wants to play with it, because a lot of people look at that as, well, he's going to become nurturing, he's going to be a father who wants to take care of his kid, he wants to learn, and things of that nature. That's how
It's
some
not
people
true.
look at it. Well,
No,
I
that is
mean,
true.
That he will
in
become nurturing.
essence,
No, but
no,
well, go ahead.
the
Finish your
nurturing effect that he has with that baby doll. So he knows there. Saquon, you said it last week. When you see a baby, you're afraid to sometimes hold that baby because you think you're gonna break them. You might drop them. But that little boy who grew up holding that doll or nurturing that doll, they know how to hold a baby. They
Yeah, and
understand
I guess,
hold
yeah.
cradle the head. You understand what I'm saying? They know how to
point.
change the
I mean,
pamper.
yeah,
Just in
if you
certain,
go to that
but
extent,
in
I guess,
certain,
yeah.
right, in certain things. I'm not speaking in terms of everything. I'm just speaking in terms of certain things. So, but personally for me, no, my children will know you're a little boy, you're a little girl, and there's differences between the two, because when they start growing up, they're gonna notice different body parts. So you got to be able to explain that as well. Gender
Right,
Yeah.
neutral. We got to get into the body parts though. So
Yeah, and and
right.
and so cousin Let is saying a GI Joe is a doll, action figures are dolls too, and I think she's right.
She is right.
She
Mhm.
she
she
she is
is,
right. It
yeah.
depends on what you're doing with that toy though. I believe,
Well, I
because
I don't.
usually you're mimicking something.
Yeah, I agree. So like usually when you see little boys playing, like they could be fighting with their action figures or
Right.
they're like doing certain things. When little girls typically play, they're playing house and like we have the doll house and all those things. Boys have the racing cars and stuff. And I played with racing cars. I played outside kickball and stuff.
I
So
sure did.
yeah, so it's not saying that
I
so
play house too.
when we say that when people say that but nah man, Chris played house with us growing up,
Yeah,
so
and
Oh,
and
I
I
I get
know.
totally
it.
Chris
did.
sure did.
Oh, I
Chris sure did.
totally did.
So
Chris sure
oh,
did
go
play
ahead, go
house.
ahead.
I
yeah,
played house.
yeah,
I put on makeup. I wore dresses. I was
yeah.
pretty as shit. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? I'm a flag boy. Of course I'm gonna be a flag,
Yeah, I
girl.
didn't go that far.
But the thing, so I think the thing is with parents wanting to raise their children gender neutral, that they are saying, I want my child to choose who they want to be. And I understand, like, you want your child to choose who they want to be, but I do feel like naturally there's just certain things that you teach a boy and certain things that you teach a girl.
Yeah.
And boys and girls, I don't have children yet. I have a lot of nieces and nephews, and I've seen them all since birth to, the age that
Mhm.
they are now. And just naturally, I do notice some differences between boys and girls um, growing up. Like, and not to say that it's not all, but most of the time I notice like little boys, like when, especially like you'll tell a woman, oh, I'm having a boy. She's like, oh, get ready. Boys in the house. Oh my goodness. They're just so rough. They play so roughly. They, climb on things, jump off of things. They have no fear. It's different with my girl. And not all boys, not all young boys are going
Mhm.
to be like that, but it's something that is so common that that's like a well-known thing for people. Like boys are going to be rough, get ready because your boys are going to be a little bit rougher. And like I said, not all. So we're not, I'm not trying to make just a general statement, but I feel like there's naturally things. And it's to the point now where there's children who will say, I feel like I'm the opposite sex. And let's see, cousin Let's said that is true, especially around safety, different lessons. Right. Because
Mhm.
naturally, we men and women are different. That's what it boils down
Mhm.
to, really. But so I agree with Demi as well, where we are the parents' guide, or we are the children's guide, and a child is still a child. They're learning this world. Children, like, to let a 5-year-old tell you, I think I'm a girl. Do you know that they fully comprehend that? Do
Yeah.
you know why they think that way? Children are still growing and learning and understanding. That child's only been on this earth for 5 years. So for a parent, and this is what I'm kind of leading into, for a parent to say, okay, well, my child said, they think they're a girl, I'm going to start giving them hormones.
No,
To
that's
me,
too.
that's child
Yeah.
abuse.
Yeah.
Because even though that's what your child says, I think I'm Superman. I want to fly.
Yeah.
Like, I think, I'm this, I'm that.
Children grow up
So,
saying they want to be firefighters, cops, and all of this, and they don't do that.
but they're children, their minds are still forming, developing, and growing. So if your child does say something like that, not to say that you beat them and you treat them badly or anything, but you try to really understand, what do they mean, why do they feel this way, why are you thinking this way, and then
Mhm.
you kind of support them. You don't push them into it. And I think what a lot of parents that like, okay, I don't know parents like this, but like when I watch documentaries and things like that, it's like, oh, well, I feel like I'm supporting my child by, if they tell me this thing, I'm like, it's kind of like they push it on it. So it's like, you say you raising your child gender neutral, and then they say, okay, like they could be raised, they can be a male, like a sex born a male, and then say they think they're a female at age 10. So then the parent starts now doing that gender bias thing and saying, okay, well, I'm going to give you all these girl things. I'm going to put you in the dress.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this. I'm going to do
Now,
that.
now we can buy a baby doll for you.
Right. So then it becomes different, to where I feel like once a child chooses a gender, now you're okay with gender, like these gender roles, or, these things that are typically associated with a certain gender. But it's like, you just want to wait till your child says, I'm this. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
And
Um,
Um.
I don't know. I guess I would just pay attention to certain things, because like gender neutral for me is like the doll situation. If we had a son and a daughter, I would just be watching my son with the doll. You know what I'm saying, to see what's going on. Because like, let's say for myself, I literally just picked up a doll and mimicked braiding. Like that was it. Other than that, like I was fascinated with the fact that I could braid,
I
and
think,
that was literally it. That was literally it. I couldn't even braid perfect. I would just want to do one little single braid, and that's it. But my wrestling action figures, I can't do that with.
yeah, I think
Mhm.
really it doesn't boil down to what your child's preference is on what they play with. Like
Mhm.
a boy can play in the kitchen set. A boy can, play with a doll. Like especially like you said, like if we have a son and a daughter and they're playing together and he's playing with the doll, like it doesn't mean he's gay or that he's
Exactly.
not his gender. They're children,
Exactly.
playing with
That's true.
toys. They
It,
like, we have more knowledge of the world and understanding of what is associated in the biases and societal construct. So I don't
Mhm.
think like, and I do know, back in the day, and like the ladies were all saying, people were afraid for their lives because growing up, if you did play with a doll, you might get popped or be told that's gay. What are
Mhm.
you doing?
well, they
And
saying.
I do
Go ahead.
I do understand, like, as a man raising a young boy, there are certain things you teach them. There's certain things like something as small as you wear your belt, what is it, to the left, or I don't know, whatever men do. We wear your watch on your left hand, not on your right. Like there's certain little things that
Oh,
men
like
just,
the earring. You
right,
get
The
the
gay
left
ear.
side
exactly.
pierced.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
Like
it the
there's
gay ear?
certain things that like men are, okay, no, we're here, girl. But there's just certain things that men naturally are going to pass down to their son, and women are naturally going to pass down to their daughter. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with saying, as a man, we do this, or as a woman, we do this. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And if you want to raise your children, differently, then you have every right. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Yes, sis. Okay. And let's see. Gabe said I still play in the kitchen. And then cousin Les said, and even if they are gay, so what? Right. But I think, well, yeah, I get what you're saying, cousin Let. But my point was just that people associate sometimes like a girl who's a tomboy, they associate with her, becoming a lesbian. And you don't have to necessarily jump to that because like you said, Gabe said, "Wait, I have two earrings in both." Now, the whole notion behind the earrings has changed. Now, men can safely wear two
Yeah,
earrings.
they have two earrings.
Sideways.
Was that more
Mhm.
of a cultural thing rather than society?
That was like a Black culture
But
thing.
but then think about it, like when they say when you come out of prison and you got your pants sagging or something like that, all these guys out here were sagging their pants, and then the
Oh,
turnaround was, oh well, if you do that in prison, that means that you want something. So I mean, it
it's
just,
so
I don't know. I feel like
confusing.
people put too much emphasis on a lot of things. People feed in too much to a lot of things. If a
Yeah.
little boy is playing with a doll, does not mean that he's going to be gay. And like cousin Let said, even if he does turn out to be gay, so what? Doesn't matter. He knows how to take care of a child because he did play with the dolls or whatever the case may be. So yeah, I just think that people just put too much emphasis, and we people feed into a lot of things too much. So, you
I
know.
I kind of agree, but kind of don't because I do feel like Chris said earlier, like the whole don't need a father it stemmed from the fact that they strategically took men out the home and they strategically made women, Black women especially, feel like they didn't need a man in the home, and that if you did have a man in the home you couldn't get um what is it not what is it when you
Child
live
support.
Yeah.
not child
Welfare
support,
or something like that.
welfare. You
Welfare.
couldn't
Oh
get on
yeah.
welfare. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Social programs were directly attached to removal of a man in the home, and that
yes,
was that. It was actually
them as
by
well.
law. It said men. It was changed obviously later on to be gender neutral, right? But
Right.
in the beginning it was men. It was like
Yeah.
your
It
man
was
can't be in
man
the.
lives
But
in the
that's like
home.
so then Chris, you would know that's like the definition of rape. I don't mean to take it to the extreme, but that's
Oh
like
yeah.
that. It started out with men penetrating women. Now it's
Mhm.
just anybody can penetrate anybody.
Well, I think
You know?
also because it was focused on the wrong thing. It was focused on the penetration, right, as
Right.
opposed to
Versus
the force or the manipulation or
right.
the actual what what's really going on in the situation. So, but back then, all they really knew was like penetration was or forceful penetration, and the only people
Mhm.
that can penetrate technically with their
Are men.
natural
With the
organs
men.
were men. But
Yep.
but sodomy was there too, because and it was pretty much described the same thing if I remember. But the sodomized part, the sodomy area.
Okay. So cousin Let says, honestly, I hated being treated different than my brothers and cuz bros. I tried to be even with my kids. They all learned to clean, do laundry, cook, etc. The other stuff they learned was based on interests. Okay. And then as a child, I wanted a train set and loved playing football with the boys. I went from tomboy to all woman. Have to nurture a child and have an open communication with them and guide them. I agree. And that's the whole
Mhm.
point too. Is like children need guidance.
Guidance.
So, as much that love is foundational and love is the most important thing. But it's not the only thing children need. So when everyone's like, oh, well, they can still have a good household because they have loving parents. But love is not the only thing that makes a child thrive and, be successful in life, you know?
Hmm.
So I just feel like um, sometimes understanding the details is very important, and especially understanding the root cause of things and
Hmm.
why things are the way they are important. So like Booby, how you said earlier, it's just science, but why are we biologically the way we are? It's for a
Hmm.
purpose. And I think sometimes we we want to not neglect, but like ignore our purposes, or like our designs. But I do think there's a reason for it. That's all I think. I just understand that there's a reason for it. And like even with you, Booby, like being a Christian and reading the Bible and understanding the Bible, God made us with purpose, and God set out rules for men, and God set out rules for women. And so a lot of people, so especially a lot of religious people, honestly, I feel like say they're one thing, but
Hmm.
then like go totally against what that one thing is. I'm not saying you,
Hmm.
but like, so to me, it's just like we're just living in a society where it's like we all just want to, and I get it to an extent. It's like we all just want to be who we are, be accepted for who
Hmm.
we are, live our lives like it's golden, do what we want to do, not answer to anybody. And it sounds great, but if we all really just did that, I mean, our world today, if you can look around and see the dysfunction, you
Hmm.
can look
Hmm.
around and see, the homelessness. Like people may not think there's a connection to like a lack of family structure and homelessness, but I do. Like you
No,
don't
you can make that connection.
I
You
believe so.
can.
Like if you had a family to look out for, you would not be in that, like granted not every case, of course. But I do think a lot of things that go wrong start from the home. And it was a good
Foundation.
uh statement that I heard, but it was like when you look at a nation, if you think about a nation is a built up of communities. Communities are built up of families. Families are typically, the people who, I guess we'll just say families right now. But if there's a problem with the nation, it's because there's problems within your community. If there's problems within the community, it's because there's problems with the family. If there's problems with the family, it's because there's problems with the individuals in that family. So, like for me, with medicine and the way that I treat people, I always try to go back to the root cause. And if you look at our society, I'm sure we can all agree that our society is out of whack. And we have to figure out why it's out of whack and try to address those issues instead of just saying, well, no, everyone should just do what they want to do. No, I don't think that. And I'm not talking necessarily just about like um, the parenting things and stuff like that. I'm just talking about in general, like everything that's going on in our community.
Hmm.
Let's see. Ani Vaughn says communication is the ultimate key in raising children or even being in a relationship, period. Yeah,
True.
communication is
It's
huge.
huge.
And I think
So
that's
huge. But in any relationship, any dynamic, yes.
another. And let's see. Mommy said, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thank you. I'm blessed to have my family and friends join the conversation. Child Michelle's another auntie to you. Hi, Aunt Michelle. This is my village. Yeah. So I just think that, we like, and that's why I like bringing up these conversations, because I love to get other perspectives and mindsets and just kind of unravel certain things and see where everyone thanks Gabe for joining.
Thanks for
Have
joining,
a good
Gabe.
one. Have a good night. But I like to see what other people's perspectives is, and I like to think I'm very open-minded, so even if I disagree, like I can listen and still respect what you're saying, and
Hmm.
I love all of you. So like
Yeah.
I don't like, that's the biggest thing. I think we should all be able to sit, have these conversations, disagree,
Hmm.
and then
As
still be able to get
adults,
back on and keep talking. Like,
yes.
you know?
Hmm.
Yeah,
So
because only because
Absolutely.
we disagree on this doesn't mean that we won't agree on many other topics.
right. And like
Right.
I think Aunt Chichi said earlier, She said that, there was value. She said there was value in like diversity.
Yeah.
So there's value in diverse mindsets as well. And I just feel like, granted, I do think there is purpose and structure and things for a reason, but I do understand we are not all the same and we're not all meant to be the same, and that's okay.
So you're agreeing that there's value in that mindset,
In what mindset?
same sex mindset
I think
towards our
there's
society.
I don't I think it's value in people.
Okay.
Like, I just think there's value in each individual. I think you can learn something from a homeless man on the street to a millionaire in a penthouse. Like, I think everyone has a value. You can, whether you're learning what not to do or whether you're learning something that can help you. Like, I just think as people, we have value.
But
So
is
that's kind of goes
everybody's
back
mindset
to,
valuable?
No.
That's the part that comes into play. Everyone's
Wait,
mindset.
why? Explain that
yeah,
more.
Because some people just aren't necessarily, how would I say it? Some people's mindset isn't how do I want to say this?
Well, you don't have to. It's just no. It's as simple as that. Like, no. Truthfully, like, we don't
Some
have to
people,
sit
okay,
here and try to. It's
but that's
okay
not
to
true.
not
no,
value
it is.
everybody's mindset.
But
Okay, we'll put it like this. Some people have a closed perspective. Some people
Mhm.
have this small window of things that they may have experienced or come across, and now they have a mindset. They have this mindset that they may be pushing towards people, but what have you experienced to
Yeah.
necessarily push your view? So at that point, what's valuable about it when you just sat in your home and now you talking?
But they can say the same about us having this conversation, and my mindset is a very valuable. I'll just put that in there. um, but no, but the reason why I say everyone has value and their valuable mindset is because just because they don't agree or their mindset towards a certain topic is negative doesn't mean towards another topic they may not add value to that conversation.
That's true.
Cousin Let said, like, white supremacy, are we going to value a racist opinion?
That's what I'm saying.
But a racist person could also say pedophilia is wrong or stop rape. So just because they do wrong towards one thing doesn't mean that there's still not value in their opinion.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
What?
Yeah,
You're a
Yes.
racist sympathizer now over there? What's
I
going
don't
on with this?
sympathize with
Yeah.
anybody.
I'm just pushing your buttons. I don't care.
For real.
But that's
Yeah.
true.
Like,
But then it
it's
comes to
true.
but I'm not saying their mindset as a person. Let's
Yeah.
say gay morale or racist white supremacy morale. Is that valuable to our community?
So honestly, to be honest with you, what like a person who dislikes somebody based off of their color, that's not really why they dislike you. You cannot dislike somebody based off your color. There's something deeper within that. Like, you don't just like a racist mindset is something that was taught to them, beaten them to make them think they hate you because of your color. That's not why they hate you. A lot
Mhm.
of them hate you because they fear you and they
Mhm.
fear the power that you have. So I don't.
Mhm.
So what I'm saying is, I get what you're saying. You're saying, okay, in this group of people, you're trying to, and that's the hard part. It's like grouping people. So you can say, okay, white supremacy or a racist person or an abuser or whatever. You can label whoever you want to label, and then you group all these people and say, well, you're just not a good person,
That's not.
and
Mhm.
But that's not what we're
or
saying
you don't
here.
have good mindset.
Okay.
So you can say that. However, those same people may strongly believe in not stealing, obeying the law, blah blah blah, like have better values in this area than someone else who is not racist. You know what I'm saying?
That's true, and I'm not knocking that out.
Mm-hmm.
But are the values of white supremacy valuable to our community? The values of white supremacy, not all these other things that they could possibly agree with us on. The value of white supremacy.
No.
Okay, and that would go to
Well,
the end.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go
what
ahead.
are the specific value? Like, are there specific values of white supremacy?
Yeah. What are the values?
Like, exactly. What are the values? Right?
Because
I don't.
I would feel like their values are, we need to stick together as white people. We need to like preserve our race.
Yeah.
Like, I would think those are their values, and I guess
What?
I don't get
Well,
like, I
aren't
don't.
those kind of similar to me and you saying that? Well, the destruction of the black family,
Yeah.
right?
And
Because
I've
we're
been
inadvertently saying the same thing, that we need to keep our people
That's true.
together,
mhm.
right? But I think it comes down to, especially with white supremacy. I'm not saying white supremacy is cool.
You're not a fan?
It comes to, so a lot of the times we will have similarities to these people. It's the extremes that when they take it to the point where we're not saying, by saying building the black home or the Spanish home or whatever is key. We're not saying, well, we need to dilute the
Right,
white race,
right.
right?
Yeah.
Which is, so we gotta stop being mentally lazy when it comes to certain things and just saying, well, all white supremacist values, because technically some of them, the family value is the family value, but you're
Mhm.
attaching that to the white supremacy, but it's the extremity that they are against. And
Right, and that's
also,
what I was
like,
talking about. The
yeah,
balance.
exactly.
What they
And
I guess what they'll do behind that, I
mhm.
guess, and what you was talking about hate and all of that,
Right, yeah, it's
But
that part. Booby, sorry, hon, you
go
were gonna
ahead.
say something?
No, I don't. Go ahead.
Booby, I wanna hear your opinion. You've been quiet.
No, because I'm listening. Listening is the key to learning, is to
It is.
understanding, hearing different people's,
Yeah.
mindset. So I'm just taking it and I'm absorbing it and just running it through my mind and seeing, well, I understand this. And sometimes I don't understand this. So a lot of the things you guys are saying, I do understand and it makes sense. But there are some things where I'm just like, what do you mean by that? Explain a little bit more. So, like,
Right.
when you guys are talking about the mindset and are we getting value from like racist people or the white supremacy? What you guys are saying, I understand. I completely get it. But to me, value is learning, is understanding. So, what I would take, the value I would take from that is they don't like us and here's why they don't like us or why they don't. So I'm learning, I'm taking value, I'm taking something from the hate, and what I'm learning from it is this: they don't like me and here's the reason why they don't like me. So I do feel like there's sometimes some value in a specific mindset, even if it's a negative mindset, because we have to look at that negative mindset in order to learn.
Right.
So
And Demi brings up a good point. You remember what she said,
Go
honey?
ahead. You got it.
Okay. She said it's valuable for white supremacists. What's valuable for all societies is subjective. I'm not saying there's no inherent right or wrong, but what people in society values depends on who you're asking. And that's very true. That is very
mhm.
true. Um, let's see. Yvonne says you get to look at life in a different perspective. I love it. Me too. I do too. That's why I agree. And Demi says she agrees with you, Booby. Let's see. Satari5. Who are you? Satari5.
Sorry.
Same-sex marriage is evil and a sin. Hi, Satari. Could you put your name in the comments? Hello, thank you for joining us.
Thanks
And
for
can
joining.
you expand on why you are saying what you're saying? But yeah, so I definitely agree that value is definitely dependent upon who you're talking to. Because uh,
Hmm.
the example with white supremacy, would it be valuable for the black race if they think that we have to be gone in order for them to preserve their family? No, because
Right.
well, there goes us.
I mean, look where we
um,
at.
but
It's not.
is there value for us to say we want to keep black families together? We want to see black families thrive and be healthy and be successful and have generational wealth and income and have a roof over their head. Like, is that valuable? Of course. Is that taking from anybody? No. And I think that's something that I think about too. A lot of people feel like when you are, and this is just in general, and then even in like the context we're talking about now, they think that when you're doing great, it's taking from them. So when people start seeing you, like let's say we work in the
Succeed.
same, huh?
Seeing you succeed, they
Right.
see you as competition.
They view it as competition. No, we can literally all win. Like
Hmm.
you don't have to like, and I know men. ugh, General statement, guys. Sorry, I'm full of them. But men are mostly like men are natural. Would you guys, these two men who are here, say you guys are naturally more competitive?
I'd say that men are naturally competitive, but I do think that some men take it too far.
Right. But I'm just saying that I just said it's out there. Do you think
uh,
that Chris, naturally competitive or no?
the men and women in my life who were competitive were competitive regardless if they were a man or a woman.
Were
I
they
don't.
more masculine, the women that you're talking about,
Well,
or were
well, I
they
don't.
feminine?
No, they were just, you know, passionately aggressive for what they were, or actively doing what they wanted to compete in. I don't really put competitiveness into a category of male and female. That's just from my experiences. So
I mean, I don't think it like you have to put it in a category. I don't think, but I do feel like men are naturally like competitive. I just think that,
I
but
think
I
so.
get what you're saying that there are women who are competitive as well.
Yeah,
And there's nothing wrong with it. Doesn't mean they're
yeah,
any less than a woman.
it
But
plays
I,
different on the
I
surface
think
sometime, I believe.
yeah, I think the real difference might be in the way that their competitiveness expresses
Yeah,
itself,
that's all.
hmm
right?
Mhm.
hmm
So,
yeah,
but
Because women, when they competitive, is more upfront. It's like right there. Men might be competitive on the back end of things because you could see like they'll try to men to collaborate a lot, and do things together to kind of build a bigger goal, to reach that goal. But in the back of their mind, I feel like sometimes somebody's trying to win.
mm.
Like it's never just.
um, yeah, I don't know. I do think that's different, but back to my but I agree with what you're saying, but I do think that that's something that causes a lot of dysfunction and hatred is the fact that people feel like you gaining something is taking away from us.
Mhm.
So like
Mhm.
the whole
Leslie
reparation,
says that all the time.
it's so true. Like the whole reparation conversation that's happening where Black people are fighting, our people are fighting for reparations. And there's a lot of people who are like, no, is that going to come out of our tax money? And, no, they weren't slaves, blah, 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 blah. All these things because they feel like, well, you're getting something I'm not. So this is like, and it's going to come from my taxes. Like it's taking from me to put you up.
well, but
And
that's actually very
Mm-mm.
valid because it
My
is,
40 acres and a mule. Somebody told
you
me
know.
I was gonna get it.
Yeah.
give me that
I'm
So
waiting.
yeah.
competitive
Yeah. So
personalities are
I think it's an
true.
injustice to the conversation or to the community as a whole to kind of push that kind of aside, that the fact that, right, as if so um when it comes to taxation, like we live, or a welfare state, not as in like welfare programs, but like the welfare state where we all pay into tax, we all put our taxes into a system that supposedly go for the general good, right?
Mhm.
When you have that type of system, the you have a say in that system.
Mhm.
So, and that's just the fundamentals of it. And your opinion should, be heard, right? That's why we have, the political system, or this, they want to say this democratic system, but um so but when you
Here we go.
yeah, I'm trying not to go too crazy with it. I'm
Yeah.
stopping.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But I
so
think that makes for good conversation though. So maybe
exactly.
on the next one.
Next
Yeah, I'm
week.
not trying to go too deep,
We're
but
really talking about something. We're really unfolding some things.
yeah. So, but I think again, it comes to mental laziness, where you just want to throw that. Well, that's racist for you. That's racist of you saying that we don't get our reparations. Well, what is, first of all, is reparations going to help as a whole? And if it is, how is it going to do that? Nobody ever presents those things. I'm not saying they're not out there, but they are, right. But that's what's, the missing pieces is what people really have a problem with, right? What is
Some
reparations going?
some people, yeah.
Well, okay. What I would have a problem with, right? Those missing
Right.
pieces, and
Mhm.
my questioning would be inquisitorial to learn, not necessarily to push down.
Mhm.
But we have
Mhm.
a society as a whole, mental laziness. We push that down. Like, you're not really trying to be inquisitorial, trying to be racist, right? Or you're trying to
Mhm.
be, But the fact of the matter
That's
is, to one, I pay my taxes into this welfare state, so I have a right to question what it's being used for. And if the
mhm.
questions don't meet my satisfaction, you should not just um play it by the wayside,
Right.
or you know what I'm saying. So because that causes more problems than it does unify. More people will be satisfied with the direct answer they don't like than with answer to shut them up.
That's true. That's true.
Mhm.
And I understand what you're saying because I feel like even with like the stimulus checks now,
Mhm.
That's money from our taxes.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's like a lot of people are frustrated because the government, this time around gave the $600 checks. And it's like, yeah, we paid you all this tax money and you're
That's all
bailing
you
out
got.
all these big businesses and you're paying the actual people this amount of money. And granted, businesses pay taxes and things as well, but it becomes this whole thing. And then also like the cutoff on how much you make, like a certain amount, then you get less
Hmm.
and less money or you get no money. So then there's people who still feel the way about that because the people who make the most money actually pay the most in tax. Well, not all the time because, taxes do favor businesses. And, everyone, you should have your own business. Fun fact. But yeah,
Very
so
fun fact. Yes.
yes. So I do understand, and I do feel like we should have an opinion on what our money is going to. And it was funny, Saquon brought up a good point. We were talking about like with the police, like they're paid by our taxes.
Yep, by our taxes.
It's like, so we're
Hmm.
paying you to
Do all this messed up stuff.
regulate us, and you're not doing your job right.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there needs to be a change in
And we
there.
can't, like, as an individual, we can't speak up. Pretty much, it has to be
A
a whole
collective.
collective, and not. I mean, shoot, you even talk about collective. I mean, obviously these things that Black Lives Matter, all of that, it doesn't work.
What do you mean?
The marching and all this other stuff that where we're going to these people and speaking up as a collective, that doesn't even do it.
I won't say that it doesn't work when you come as a collective, but you just have to understand what's behind what these people are trying to do. So with the Black Lives Matter organization, they have their own agenda. That's not necessarily what the masses think
Hmm.
the agenda
So,
is.
so would you say that all the marches before Black Lives Matter had the wrong agenda to not work?
What marches are you referring to?
I mean, I'm pretty sure there was
The
pretty.
women's suffrage march,
I mean,
I
okay,
it made a difference. The 100 Men
but
march
Black
made
Lives.
a difference.
You mentioning like these monumental marches. Black Lives Matter marched multiple times. Now I'm pretty sure there were multiple marches to defend Black rights.
And they did change things. So in certain states, they no longer will allow like the chokeholds or whatever, like no knock warrants. That stopped. So I do think coming as a collective can change things. I feel like where sometimes we fail when we try to do these marches and things like that is there is no true agenda. Like there's like we don't say, okay, these are the things that we specifically need to change, and then if they're not changing, we're going to the streets. But I feel like people go protest and do these things aimlessly sometimes, and there's no true like goal. They're just upset, mad, and
Hmm.
want change, but they don't necessarily have a unified agenda
Hmm.
per se. Besides, I want change. If that makes sense.
So you
What do you
think?
guys think? Go ahead.
So you think like was it Eric Gardner that got choked? If I'm correct,
Mhm.
you think
Hmm.
that people went to them marching with the simple thought of, hey, stop choking us. It was probably a whole bunch more other stuff that
Who put an agenda out there? What stuff did they like? Who is the people that you feel like came to them and said, and who was them?
the collective that spoke up.
Right. So there was
You think that they went the objective that they wanted was to say stop choking us, or do you think it was bigger than that?
it stop police brutality. So and stop the discrimination against Black people, right? But
So to
there you
stop
have
Hmm.
to have specific agenda, like you have to have specific things that you want. You can't say like a general, we just want you to stop this. Like because like we just said, you could make a law to say there is laws. You're not supposed to discriminate based off of color, race, gender, you know, religion, but people still do it. So that doesn't, just because you have a law that says it, people are who they are and they're not just going to do what you want because there's a law for it. You get what I'm saying? You
kind
guys
of.
can chime in because I guess he doesn't get what I'm saying.
I
What do
mean,
you guys
I
think?
just feel like as a collective, they went and asked for multiple specific things.
What did
And
they ask for?
I don't know, but
So then you can't say that. Right?
Exactly. I think the biggest accomplishment of Black Lives Matter as the organization was getting words written on streets. That's it. Just letters written on streets. There,
Go ahead, Booby.
the majority of the organization got rich off of the backs of all its
Well,
supporters and
that goes
provided
back to the 2 weeks
zero
ago.
that I know of to this that for last time I checked, which it hasn't been a while, but when I checked, the people of that organization became multimillionaires overnight, gained political clout overnight, decided to become a political movement and put zero money back into the Black community. That may have changed from now, but when I looked into it, it was that. And so I think they're, in my opinion, they're just a over exaggeration of the predatorial type of quasi minority leader, right? They're just preying. They're using. They're getting rich off the backbone of struggles of a people, and
I do agree with that. They've raised billions of dollars, and a lot of even, excuse me, like their little chapters within states are like, well, where's the money so we can help our communities, and they're not getting them.
because
So
it was never for that, so
yep,
and
they
it
have their
showed.
own agenda.
And I do like the reason, like your husband said, is true. Like what was their purpose? What was it for? It was for that. It was distracting. Though these things were basically big distractions for you to feel good and to like, oh yeah, we're gonna try to get something done. The people are uproaring. Look, we have people all over the world, right? You're looking at that. You're saying, oh yeah, we're all united when we're not, but they're getting rich and you're not seeing it, like, right? So because they wanted to distract you from the true purpose, right? And now that it's not that big of a shine anymore, it's starting to come out.
Yeah.
But that's my point, is that because you're saying there's only a few leaders and there's a lot of followers. So when collectively these followers are going out there, they're not talking to anybody about, they're not coming out there with their plan. They're just following these leaders and not even understanding what they're following. So that's what I
And
was
that
exactly.
Yeah, and that can be detrimental because you think you're following someone who's fighting for the same equality that you're fighting for. The message, there's a difference between the message and what the organization. So there are people who actually want to fight for the message that Black lives actually matter. My life matters. My son's life matters. My husband's life matters. My brother's life matters. And then there are people like you guys are talking about, the people who want the clout, the people who want the money. Let me take this name brand, let me post it on something, and let me receive the funds that it brings in because I'm out here promoting this message. So I think Demi actually made a point. She said Black Lives Matter is nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. Not really sure what that means though. Yeah, as in what does that do for the people?
Nothing.
Yeah.
What does that change? Just like we talked about Rosa Parks being put on the $20 bill. It's a symbolism.
Right.
They keep doing these things for symbolism to
it's a shut you up tactic. That's what it is. It's a
shut us up so that they're like, oh, we gave you something. You guys got a Peace Prize. You got Rosa on the 20. Every time you grab the 20, you see Rosa. Like, just because you put Rosa Parks on, or excuse me, Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill doesn't mean more $20 bills are going into the Black community. So it's like, I think we just have to understand, like, be careful who you follow and understand what their agenda is. And really, you shouldn't really be following anybody. You should think for yourself. You should look at different objectives and see this side, see the opposite side, and formulate an opinion. Because I feel like
I try to follow Jesus though, so I mean he's somebody I can follow.
Before we get too far, Novi, what opinion was said that you want to know where we getting the facts from?
Oh, the Black Lives Matter stuff, probably.
Yeah. Poppy said
blacklivesmatter.com.
Stop.
No, I'm serious.
No, a lot of the information was there. It was
on
there.
Their site. And they did change some things because honestly, the Black Lives Matter organization was trying to break up the nuclear family.
Yes, and they
had that on their website, but they changed it.
Yeah, when it got too big. Poppy said Martin Luther King's message was not actually taken to heart until a white man got hurt. So there may be some merit to what Saquon said.
Okay. Have a
cousin.
good night, cousin
Um,
Let. Thank you for joining us. You
good
might be
night.
gone. Hey, Gabe. Welcome back.
Wow, really? Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, even if you look up the leaders, the people who they say created Black Lives Matter,
Yeah.
they outright say they're Marxists, and they're like there's just a lot of like research that's been done and found how they did have a connection to the Democratic Party and putting certain people in place, and
Mhm.
also a connection to Soros. So there's just like a lot of underlying things that people have researched and found that it's kind of covered up. But because, like you guys were saying, like because they're going off
Be
of
careful. Facebook might shut you down right now. Be careful.
well, we've been on 2 hours, so that's okay. But there's just a lot of things out there that I feel like a lot of us have good intent and feel like this is something that is supposed to be for us, but sometimes
Mhm.
it's not. And a lot of times, especially when there's a movement, or even if you think about a business, like something that gets big, there's other people who want to infiltrate and try to take and get their own benefit from it. So the same way, like they were talking about, what's that group? And then Black Lives Matter, Antifa.
Mm-hmm.
Same way they were talking about like Antifa, and when you would see the protests, most of the people who were breaking things and throwing and all that stuff,
Mhm.
they were white people. So
Yeah.
it's like you just have to be very mindful and careful. That's
Yeah.
all we're saying. But yeah, this was a great
Mhm.
conversation, guys. We've been on here for 2 hours and 20 minutes. So time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah. What was the topic that
Absolutely.
Hmm?
didn't he say a topic that we said we'd talk about next week?
I think it was starting to
Um
get political. I think we were
oh, the
talking about
democratic stuff.
how the yeah
Yeah.
country's supposedly well, it's really supposed to be a republic, but yeah, that stuff. So yeah, so
Oh, you mean what I said about democracy? Our democracy? Okay.
that's a whole nother conversation.
That
Yeah,
yeah, that's
we
why I
can
said that's
see.
a whole nother no, but that's a whole nother
yeah.
conversation on its
We're
That
not
is,
own.
we're
and
not
we're
going to
more
get
a
into it.
relationship podcast, family relationship. So, and that's
Well,
a fact
that's what I was
of
about
a
to say.
family, but
Yeah,
we'll
well, I when I read the podcast when your mom sent me the link, it said how to generational wealth. So when we start talking about all this stuff, I was like, where'd this come from? So I thought we were
yeah,
going to talk about that.
but generational wealth has a lot to do with your family. So,
Yeah.
That's true.
you know,
Yeah.
so that's why like we kind of start with talking about the family and the different things happening with families today, and what's like, what may be optimal, what may not be, getting everyone's opinions, unwrapping it, seeing it. You guys obviously know our opinions and we know yours, but just talking about it, having that conversation and seeing how we can make our families more successful. And
Mhm.
underlying, like everyone said, loving healthy parents is the most important thing. Communication, yes, Aunt Yvonne, is very
Mhm.
important
Yes.
as well. And it's, I don't know if we can all agree, but I do think it's more than just love. I think you have to raise your children with compassion. You have to also instill discipline and good morale and confidence, and like just there's just more
It's a
than
mixture of
it's
things.
yeah, it's a mixture of things.
You
But
need a village.
yes, you need a village and you need to be well-rounded, healthy yourself. So, really what it boils down to, people, is that we all need to just make sure we're doing the best that we can and loving each other, respecting each other, whether we agree or disagree. Um, but, you know, also just think about like there's a purpose to everything. Like life is purposeful,
Mhm.
and I don't think we're put on this earth just to be here. Like I do think there's purpose behind why we're here. And we can go further into, being spiritual beings and things of that nature, but another
Yeah.
day, another topic.
Before we go with everyone's hair, is there any topics that anyone wants to request?
Oh yeah, let us know in the comments if anyone wants to discuss anything else.
Hair
And
braiding, because I'm actually pretty nasty at that. I'm nice.
you said
It's a
what?
hair
And
braid.
Saquon said he was good too.
Yeah, exactly. I used to cornrow my daughter's hair. Like, man, she had like the parts in the side. I, w- you know, and if you remember, I used to bug your sister all the time. She used to hate me, be like, "Yo, braid my hair. Come on." Right? You remember that?
Yeah. Yes.
And that's just a skill, you know. It just
Yeah.
if you like, I think that's. I mean, I guess taking care of a child is a skill too. So I mean, I don't
I'm
even
not
want
gonna
to get
front
into that.
though. I was when I
Yes.
used to get my hair braided. I used to be like, well,
It is.
girls did it better. I used to go to the girls salon to get my hair braided. But this one time, I did go to like a Dominican barber shop, and there was this dude. I was like, nah, I'm not gonna let you do it because you're a guy, right? But he was like, nah. He was like, yo, let me do it, and I did. Yo, it
Get
came
that
out nice. So I
mindset.
was like, all right, there goes that gender stereotype.
Ah,
You know?
See, that's why I said there goes that mindset.
Yeah,
There
exactly.
goes
I
that
was willing to break
mindset.
it. You know, so
yeah.
it's all right.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. But yeah, so we appreciate everyone for joining us. And, these are just our opinions. We want to share with you guys. We want the conversation to be started. We want people thinking. And we love that, like, we get text after this of people saying, I
Yeah.
was talking to so and so and we thought this. And, like, just
Mm-hmm.
keep talking about it, keep thinking about it. You don't have to agree with us. That's okay. We still love you.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not going to always agree with you. So it's just about having the conversation, opening our minds, thinking, and growing together.
Yeah. As long as you guys always feel comfortable just sharing your opinion, that's all that matters,
Yes.
whether you agree or not.
Yeah. It's like
An open
everybody
space.
disagree and no
Yep.
one attacked anybody, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So everyone, please make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and we will see you guys next week. Love you guys.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Good night. Thanks, guys, for having me.
Oh, and thank you to our wonderful co-hosts, Janae and Chris. Thank you guys for joining us. Adding a new
No
hashtag,
problem.
Puerto Rican love. But yeah, so we can end it.
But good
No,
night,
they're still
everybody.
on.
I know they
Good